Now it's going. Give it a second. Jesus Christ. All right. Alrighty, boys. Now I'm going to have to redo all that again. We are going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, and after technical difficulties and a whole monologue later, 2 hours later, welcome to The Last of Us Part 2 spoiler talk. This will be a full-on spoiler talk about the game. If you have not played it, please step away now. Save this video. Come back to watch it later. Trust me, there's nothing you're going to want to do more than to see other people's opinions and to talk about this game, hence why we are here. Start off, my name is Vincent. This is my brother John and my brother Josh, and we will be talking about this game in full depth. To give you a quick background and prologue, The Last of Us Part 1 is all about a cordyceps virus that goes around and takes over the world, causing a zombie-like infection to go around and the apocalypse to basically begin. The story starts off about a man named Joel who loses his daughter in the post-apocalypse and before the apocalypse happens, due to a soldier that executes him and his daughter, but ends up missing him and kills his daughter in his arms. And 20 years later, he is smuggling weapons and ends up having to smuggle an infected girl through this apocalypse who happens to be immune. And he has to get her to this group called the Fireflies, which is a faction who's trying to find the cure. And through that journey, they go through a lot. They go through cannibals and hunters and rapists and God knows what else, the infected. And they finally get to this spot until he finds out that the only way to find the cure is for her to die. And for him, at that point, he learned how to love again, and he couldn't let her go like he let his daughter go. So he ends up saving her. Some events occur, and he leaves. And when she wakes up, she asks us what happens. He lies to her and tells her that there was no cure and that there was nothing they can do. And at the end of the game, she looks at him and asks him, "Tell me everything you said about the Fireflies was true." And he says yes. So he straight up lies to her face. And that is the end of the game. Last of Us Part 2 takes place 5 years after that. And yeah, now we will start. So we start off in the beginning of the game where Joel is telling Tommy the story of the first game. And I think we should start off with, and I want to know your guys' opinions, obviously. Obviously, we should talk about the pros because there is a lot to this game. I think it's one of the most beautiful games that's ever come out. And I think the intro, when you step out of that garage and you're riding the horses with Tommy, it is an absolutely beautiful scene. But what do you guys think about the intro of the game?
Josh, go first.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I wanted to do, the first thing I did was just go straight into photo mode.
Yes.
So they have a great way to they found a specific formula, I guess, where they just give you a picturesque scene so that you can have at it. They love doing that for us, so I appreciate it a lot. And it was beautiful. It's kind of it's a nice way to bring you back to the world, because the game kind of ends on a good note because they're both alive and well. And I don't know, it just felt nice. It was a beautiful shot, nice and warm and golden,
Yeah, I would, second that. I mean, from the beginning, as a whole, the game's dynamics, the story, it's very leading up to what, inevitably is one of the greater games ever made so far.
I think we can both agree. I think we could all three agree. I apologize. I think we could all three agree that The Last of Us Part 2, although it is extremely divisive, and it takes a lot of risks, and there's a lot of things we may not agree with. It's still, in all aspects, as far as gameplay, mechanics, graphics, acting, motion capture, and pushing the generation.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
the technical.
and even with all that, I think at that stage it's still a masterpiece of a game. With all that included, I'm not including the story in the plot, in the way the plot was developed, but I'm saying in the sense of like the overall scope of the game, it really is a 10 out of 10 game in the sense of the way it looks and the way it acts and the way it plays and the way it pushes the generation. I think it still meets that. I just think what we're gonna get into in this spoiler talk is the story,
Right.
is the plot.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, from like even the simplest things as the playing the freaking guitar, which is small, but that shit went such a long way. Like choosing the chords and all that. I think that was probably one of the cooler things. Other than the little details. Like you showed me today the guy playing the banjo, which is
Gustavo,
the guy from the first game.
Yeah.
Playing the banjo for the the theme song, and I think we should just get to the nitty and gritty and just
I'm with you.
hash it
By the way,
out.
just a reference, John is talking about Gustavo, the actual composer of the video of the Last of Us. He was the composer of the first one as well. There's actually a part of the game which we're gonna get into, but basically, by the way, we have not said any spoilers, and this is a spoiler talk. So for spoiler warning right now, you haven't played the game, leave. Go, leave, don't watch,
Joel dies.
just stop. Okay,
Joel
there you go.
dies.
That's
Joel
yep.
died.
So
Okay.
getting into it. Speaking of
That
that,
was a true test.
Joel's from Texas, so I'm gonna serve myself a little Texas rye as a tribute to my boy. So yeah, I guess we're gonna get into the nitty gritty. Joel dies. What's your thoughts on that, guys? What was okay? You know what? Let's do this.
Do I read all this?
You could, yeah. By the way, shout out to Laura and Adri for
think-
watching. I think let's start off with
Thank you.
John. Both of you, but let's start off with John. And I want to know what your initial reaction, because obviously I wasn't there. I want to know what your reaction was at that moment. What was going on in your head? What were you thinking? Like what were you feeling? Like, tell me what you thought.
All right, so prior to playing the game, I mean, from watching trailers or seeing pictures or whatever the case may be, you know that the main part of the game is Ellie. Ellie, where's Joel the whole time? So you kind of already get it in your head, like, Joel isn't just going to leave Ellie. Something's going to happen to Joel, which inevitably makes the story the way it is. So initially, when that whole scene started with, Joel and Abby and Tommy, when that whole, when they're when they're captured and the Horde is trying to get in, and Abby is helping Joel and Tommy and all that stuff, you kind of get a sense like, holy shit, like he just walked into a trap in helping this character that he just met. So now you're like, damn, he's gonna go out of his way.
I love that you just said that, because that's one of my
take her.
biggest. Well, that's right. I put it for adult.
Yeah,
That's my biggest fucking gripe with that scene, is because in that part, like you just said, Joel. If it wasn't for Joel, she would have gotten bit by that infected, and Joel was the one. The introduction to Joel to Abby was when he shot the infected, the runner straight in the head and saved her, and then continue to save her throughout the whole thing. So yeah, go ahead. But I'm gonna touch base on that later.
Yeah, I mean, which inevitably be like, holy shit, what a small world that he would, be put in that situation. Like, holy shit, like you just ran from a horde.
Yeah.
I'm safe.
That's all me.
No, you're not. I'm gonna shoot you in the leg with a shotgun. And then Joel being first of all, Last of Us Part 1, we've spent 10, 15 hours with this guy. We've grown to love him, almost not as a father figure, but like, you connected to him with losing the daughter and all that good stuff. So then not even 2 hours into Last of Us 2, like you wait 7 years and now this guy is just taken away. Brutally. Like,
Yeah, Glenn style from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, Glenn too, basically. And to
Right.
see, the glove club to the head and the brain and all that good stuff. Like, as the gamer playing that, now you get that sense of like, it's about to go down. I'm gonna kill every one of these motherfuckers for doing this to my dude. When it happened, I was in doubt because I thought, damn, okay, maybe they held him captive. Maybe he's not
maybe
dead,
they just beat the shit out of him and left him alive. Yeah.
Correct. And like, maybe the whole thing is him getting back or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it was done.
But initially,
I don't think
when it happened, and Josh, I want to get to you after this one, but initially when it happened, because obviously we have different thoughts now than it was at the moment, right? Like now, because we obviously played throughout the whole game, we understand certain things differently. But at that moment when Abby shoots him in the leg, and she's like, you don't get to rush this. And he's like, well, whatever, like, just get on with whatever speech you have and get this over with. What was like what was going on in your head? Like, because for me, I legit, like, I was already like, okay, she knows him from somewhere, but I don't know where. Like, my brain started rambling from the first game. Like, where, at what point in time did she come from? As a matter of fact, because I don't know, did the spoilers from before that you guys witnessed, did that give you any hints on this moment?
I watched a tidbit of the spoilers, and the only thing that spoiled me was Abby's character. Like, okay, it showed us that she was the daughter of the doctor. A doctor.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
but the game spoiled it for me in the beginning, because that's the first thing you see in the game. When Joel is talking.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You see him kill the doctor. That's the first thing you see. So like, as soon as that happens, I'm like, okay, she's related to him somehow.
And
as soon as I saw that happen, she's like, you don't get to rush this. Like,
and
it was very obvious.
Yeah, and the only other spoiler was, fast forward to the end, and all you see is Abby beating the crap out of Ellie, and then about to cut Dina's throat.
Oh,
so
and the
that's
spoilers.
What initially everyone freaked out over. Yeah, that's what everyone freaked out over. Like, oh my god, they didn't spoil anything with the death of Joel. It was Dina's death.
Death.
And then again from the trailers, we think it's Dina the one.
That was my original theory that I told Josh. I think I told you too. Was because of they kept. Yeah. In the trailer of E3 back in 2016, 17, I don't know. When they're doing the dance and she's like, "Oh, I'm not a threat," and the camera pans around, you see the bracelet on Dina's arm, and then when she's like cutting the guy's throat, it's on Ellie's arm. So initially, it was like, okay, cool, like. And by the way, I don't want to get too crazy into it yet because that's something I really want to get in depth about. But I have a huge gripe with the way this game was marketed. Like, it really just.
Yes, that's in my notes.
But anyways, Josh, what was going on in your head when that happened?
Well, the first thing for me. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out the charging situation. The first thing for me was I was like, wow, it's really convenient that there's a blizzard, a horde, and they just happen to be on patrol, and Abby's group just happened to be next to their patrol. Like, there was no kind of forethought. Because later when you see Ellie, like, tracking down Abby, you get you understand every step of the way. But for Joel's death, who's like a super important character, we get none of that.
Rushed.
It's just like, straight at him, happenstance, and like and also what it didn't make sense to me at the time, and it still doesn't, is that Abby's group didn't kill Tommy and Ellie. Like, that makes no sense. And like, I know at the end she's like, we gave you a chance to live and you wasted it. No, that's stupid. Like, that's gonna get you killed. because this is a zombie apocalypse. I mean, an infected apocalypse, whatever you want to call it, and it's kill or be killed. Like you
Right.
can't just be nice to people, and like you gave her that chance after you killed her father figure. So it's like, yeah, that's definitely what she's
And
gonna do with her
That's
life. She's
that's
gonna
the other
fuck
part I
off.
didn't
Sure.
understand because in that whole okay, when I was playing it, in my head it was the same thing, right? I was like, okay, out of all people in the world for him to run into this girl, okay, in a blizzard with infected horde, like everything, they just happen to run into this girl. Cool. Okay, I'll accept that.
Right.
Fine. And then like it was a coincidence of it. But while I'm watching it the whole time, I'm thinking to myself, okay, she knows who Joel is. But the only reason they would tie anything about this would have to be with whatever he did with Ellie. So they have to know who Ellie is. So when Ellie's on the floor and she's like, Joel, get up, please, I'm going to fucking kill you, blah, 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 blah. They know who she is. And that means
absolutely.
they know that she is immune and she has the cure.
Well, maybe it depends on how much Marlene and the doctor told
That's true.
the other people.
Well,
Because
yeah,
they could
but
have kept that to their chest.
here's another thing. So her dad, Abby's father, is the only one that knew how to make the cure. Motherfucker could have wrote in a note or two, hey, this is how we get the cure from said person.
Is it possible that they could not have made a cure? Because they were saying like he's gonna try to make a vaccine.
Exactly.
But, like,
It wasn't guaranteed.
I mean, is it like
It wasn't a
known?
guarantee. And not only wasn't a
Right.
guarantee, but like you said,
So-
from Jeremy Jan's review was like the Fireflies were a military faction. They could have weaponized the cure.
Right.
And we don't know. Like we don't know if they would have
Easily.
came out with that cure. They could have weaponized it to use it for their soldiers and not for regular people.
Exactly.
So, but that's like not getting off topic because that gets into the speculation of that. But in that scene where Joel, okay, here's where I put out my notes. Okay, The Last of Us, and I'm gonna say this, and this is gonna continue on with the theme of my conversation throughout this stream, is The Last of Us 2 feels simultaneously like the last game. And it also feels like a middle game that didn't have anything beforehand. It feels The Last of Us 2 for me, and I'm watching Joel's death scene right now. They're tourniqueting his leg. The Last of Us Part 2 for me is the Last Jedi of video games. It began just like the Last Jedi by throwing away the ideas of the previous game in certain aspects. So, for example, when Luke gets the lightsaber and he throws it over his shoulder and he walks away, it's very much like throwing away Joel in the beginning of this one. In the beginning of the game.
Oh yeah.
The game has a lot of things where it's like it wants to tell this story, but the story wasn't really told in the first game. Like we get it. Joel killed the doctor and the doctor had a daughter. But at no point in time was that ever shown anywhere near the first one. So 7 years later, we're playing it, and we're like, okay, this is a whole new story. But it has nothing to do with the immunity. It has nothing to do with like Ellie's like personal journey, or Ellie's relationship with Joel as far as like her not believing him and what he told her in the previous game.
Yeah.
It's all like a distraction from what the original story was of the last game, which I get it had to do with love, but ultimately the plot was getting this immune girl to the doctors to get a cure. And then now you have this one, and it's her. She still has the bite mark, and she's still immune because obviously at the end of the game, she gets bit again, and that plot is gone. Now it's just all about Abby.
Yeah, because you could have not played Last of Us 1 and known everything about it in Last of Us 2. And not have been heartbroken as much as us or anyone that played the first one religiously and felt like that. I felt this game was more a character development for the future. Like, now that, the ending was very kind of like all right, I hate you, but I'm gonna let you live. I saved you. I'm gonna let you live. What does that mean for Last of Us 3? Because now Tommy has a thing with Ellie because Ellie said no to begin with, and Tommy has no idea that she in fact did go and try to kill Abby, but
Yeah.
wasn't able to.
Yeah, we're getting to the end, but
Do you-
I
Do you
see
mind?
it
Do you
again,
mind if
no,
I
yeah,
say
go
another
on.
thing
We're still
about
on
Joel's
that.
death?
but over.
Gonna be on that
Okay.
for a little while.
So yeah, I just wanted to. So I have a question. It's
Okay.
more of a question actually, and this is something I noticed that's kind of fucking weird. Okay. So you remember Eugene, right? The old guy,
Yeah.
the old weed guy that would
Mhm.
grow the weed in his. Okay, so he dies of old age,
Yeah, like 78 years old or something.
and at 72,
Mhm.
yeah, 70 something, right? And he dies of old age, and it's fine, right? And Joel and Tommy are getting older, and all these older guys are doing patrols, right? So tell me, if you're trying to build up a character that's getting softer and nicer because of his relationship with his daughter, and he's getting older, like he's so strong, I get it, but why would he be doing the
The
most
same
dangerous job?
reason the wolves.
And there's
The
three
same
people.
reason the wolves have a fucking pregnant girl going on patrols.
It makes no sense.
Mel is pregnant
Like-
and she's going out to the front lines as patrol and nobody is stopping her. But they have a gym full of people working their ass off in the stadium.
And
Just
they're
working
just
out.
working out. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
my question. Like,
And
why if you're going that direction with his story, then logically speaking, he would never have been in that situation ever. If
Yeah.
the community was smart.
The other thing
You
is
know?
that I think
I agree.
So they're kind of contradicting themselves there
and
is what
I
I'm trying
think
to say.
the other
Yeah.
problem is to what you're saying about Joel, is that I understand the idea of Joel. Like, I get it. We're humans, right? So they went through a lot. Now they're at this peaceful town of Jackson. It's been 5 years. You know, nothing crazy major has happened, at least from what we know, aside from patrols with a few infected here and there.
Right.
So I get it. I get,
Yeah.
you know, where his mindset might be, where it's more like calm down. You know, he's gained this humanity because he had all this hatred from his daughter, from losing his daughter, but now he has Ellie. He has his brother back. He's in this nice town. I understand the idea. I get it. And if it was done in any other way, I think I would be better to it. Because first and foremost, I'm okay with Joel's death. I love Joel. I love him,
Yeah.
and I think as a plot,
Me too.
as a way to push the plot forward and push characters forward, I think Joel's a great death. I just don't think the way they did it was great, because I think it just felt very rushed. It felt very much like which is a constant theme that we've been seeing that's been failing films and shows, and it's the constant want of subverting expectations, but not for the right reasons. Exactly. So, like, for example, I'm sorry, but just there's one thing before I forget. The same way that the D&D brothers from Game of Thrones, and if you haven't finished Game of Thrones, I guess don't watch this part either, but spoiler. When she's flying, when Daenerys is flying with the dragons, and then Euron Greyjoy just shoots down the dragon with perfect precision, and
Right.
then, you know, the D&D brothers, that they do the interview and they're like, oh, well, she forgot about the Iron Fleet, but they didn't forget about her. But there's obvious, like, conversations of her constantly talking about the Iron Fleet. And so, but that was just to subvert expectations,
Right.
to kill off one of the dragons. And it's the same.
But she kind of forgot
Exactly.
they were
And so
there.
when she obviously didn't. Yeah.
that meme
and
was
then you
amazing.
have The Last of Us, where I get it. You know, the idea's there where he's calmed down, but when you're talking about patrols, they know they're not only going to run into infected, they're going to run into people. And so,
Yeah,
first of all,
that's a big job.
it's you're going to run into people, and they're way more dangerous than infected, and that's That's an obvious thing that Joel
Yes.
knows. He's been in this for 25 years. Yeah, he's been in Jackson for 5, but he's been surviving this for 20 years. Okay? Exactly. So for him to just meet a random group of people, first of all, and just be like, "Hi, I'm Joel. Yeah, come back to my place," you know? Like, and then Tommy's like, "Oh yeah, come over. We're right there. Like, we'll give you supplies, blah blah blah."
Yeah, and they explain exactly where they are, and he's like super warm.
It was
and
super
inviting.
like, I get it.
It's so
I
weird.
understand, but even in The Walking Dead, when
It's
Rick
weird,
finds
though.
new people, he always asks the same 3 questions: How many people? Yeah, how many zombies have you
many?
killed? How many people have you killed, and why? Because he understands that people are more dangerous, and Joel knows better than that. That being said, I don't understand. I really don't
lose your
understand.
instincts.
Hi, I'm Joel. Like, is there no other Joel in the planet? Because as soon as he says Joel, they're just like,
It's a guy.
that's him.
This
Like,
is the
'cause
guy.
the thing is, Tommy says their names, and the way they react, they like all like stand up straighter when they hear Joel, and like
Yeah.
he just gives it up. He's just like, "Oh, I guess you've heard of me," instead of being like, "What's going on?" Like, why does he like just admits it and confirms
Yeah.
it? It's like that's not the time. If you're looking out, you're seeing everyone's body language. That's not a time. I mean, you shouldn't be in there in the first place.
I don't
but
know how many. I don't know how many
whatever.
military veterans come home from, even if they don't go to war, but if they do or whatever, or policemen or anything of that are retired. I don't know how many of them are still years. My father is law enforcement. I don't know how many. Like, if they were retired, even after 5 years, they're still scanning the room and sizing everyone up and expecting danger. Like always.
Right.
So and in a post-apocalyptic world with Joel, whose main thing is endure and survive. For him just to walk in
Yep.
and not only that, but like he's just walking straight in the middle of the room. He's allowing himself to get surrounded. He's providing his name. He's providing his location. Like, they don't even know them. They
Yeah.
haven't even.
Everything's
Yeah, they
going
haven't even
wrong.
talked to Abby. Like, they haven't even gotten like a feel for her yet.
Anything.
So, just a lot of things there.
I think the guard was way down. I think they've been surviving for a while, and it shouldn't have been. It was a shitty thing. I think Joel deserved he should have had a Scarface ending. I think him guns
Maybe.
blazing would have been a lot more fulfilling, a lot more like, okay, like he died,
How about
but he fucking kicked ass.
how about this? I have a question. If they're showing Joel and Tommy getting soft, but they're still doing patrols,
Mhm.
what if he got just eliminated by random people, and there's no backstory to those people? He just fucked up.
Yeah.
That would be like a super strong message of like, don't let your guard down ever,
Yeah.
Correct.
especially to Ellie. So I mean, it still doesn't make sense, but it doesn't make sense for his character. But from a story perspective, it's the same launching point of Ellie, but it's not. It's still random,
No.
but it's not like coincidental. You know what I mean? Like
I
there's
think
a difference.
the problem is look, I personally I get the story, and I do like the story that they're trying to tell. I just don't like the way they did it. And that being said, I think if they would have tweaked some things, I'm not a game developer, designer, director, or anything, but I just think that the problem is that I think everyone's general problem is two things. One, they introduce Abby way too early, and because of that, it causes you to absolutely hate her. So it's the most difficult thing in the world to try to get you to empathize and like her when you play as her for 15 goddamn hours. And two, I think the biggest problem everyone has with Joel is the fact that he let his guard down. So one thing some people I've heard say, and I think it's a much better idea, would have been for her to have basically joined in Jackson, and that would have been a few hours of being with her and her gaining their trust.
Yeah.
And then, after a few hours, whatever, 6, 7, 10 hours that you've been with her, and she's like a trusted ally like Dina, and then she finds out who Joel is, and she finds out that it is Joel Miller, the guy she's been looking for, and then she kills him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's way more impactful.
Now you have that little bit more of I trusted her. Like, I thought I knew her, and then she kills him. And then when you play as her, it's a little bit more of like, why did she do that? You know, because as of now, like when they like the fact that you play as her right at the beginning, you're like, who am I? Like, who is this character? And then an hour later, she kills Joel, and you're like, I just played as a girl that killed Joel, bro. I better not play as her again. And then 10 hours later, you're playing as her again with her, which I really want to get into with you guys, but like, Abby's characters sucked, man. I didn't like her.
Why?
Well, do you want to move on to her?
Before that, I think I want to start off with Ellie's journey between day 1, day 2, day 3.
Okay.
I think that there's a few things, and I feel bad because I don't want the whole stream to be negative stuff, even though there's a lot of stuff that we disagree with. I will say that for me was what I was waiting for this game. I was waiting for me to be able to play as Ellie. I was waiting for me to be able to go out into The Last of Us has probably the most recognizable and loving worlds I've ever played. I can't think of a game, like right now I can't really think of a game that I'm like, I want to go back to that world and see where it's at. You know, maybe there's a few, maybe like Witcher. You know, would I like to go back to Manhattan, Spider-Man, and see where it's at? Yeah, I guess. But like, as far as like a fully developed new world, like Horizon Zero Dawn's another one. Of course, we're getting another one. But The Last of Us, the world of The Last of Us is one of the very few worlds I really do want to like expand and learn and grow and see everything that's going on with it. And that's what I was excited for, is playing as Ellie. So those Seattle 1, 2, 3 days, I think. Being able to go into those open landscapes, very Lost Legacy or Uncharted 4, like the big expansive level design, I thought was awesome. One thing I want to touch base on is the mechanic of being able to fit through the freaking small spaces.
Love it. I thought it was super cool.
It's awesome.
I think, and I got lost sometimes because it would be as simple as it's right in front of me. So I would overthink of where to go.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times it would be like to find the code for a safe, or like, I don't know if you guys did the bank where you found, you went to a bank and it was bank heist, you know?
Right.
I thought that was freaking.
Yeah, they did it on the day. Yeah,
and going against like these zombies with, you know, bulletproof vests and a helmet being much more difficult, which I would have seen. I wish I would have been more of those, because I think the difficulty with the zombies would have been a lot, you know, cooler to deal with. Like, oh, this clicker is harder because he has a helmet on. You know, I can't shiv him.
Right.
You know, but I mean, I agree. The little.
And that could have been, and it's totally optional. So it would have been like a really cool random fight that you may have missed. It's like a little detail in the world. That would have been cool.
The exploration and the scavenging is
yeah.
phenomenal.
I think there was I don't know, because I'm replaying it and I don't see it. But I remember there was a quote from Neil Druckmann, the director of The Last of Us Part 2, who said that we won't be able to get the full, like, we'll be missing some key story moments in our first playthrough. And when you're playing as Ellie and you find that the guitar and you start playing Take On Me to Dina, I thought there was going to be way more of those moments. I thought there was going to be way more of those. Like, I thought that was, when I first did that, I was like, oh crap, was this one of those things that people might miss? And like, I
mean, technically,
yeah, it is technically, but everyone's done it, and it's like, I was expecting more things I could find that were story moments that would have, that would have been a different experience for, like, you know, a little bit of a different experience for everyone. And there wasn't really that. There was very few.
Well, this is the problem. Like, even though there are those missable things, at the end of the day, it's still a Naughty Dog game. It's not open world. Yeah. So, like, if you just take 5 minutes to look around, you're gonna see it. You know what I mean? Like, all those optional things, you're gonna run into them because it's pretty linear. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I just wish they would have figured, because the problem is also the area you go into when you first go on patrol, and you get to that open area with Dina at the WLF QZ. That's the downtown area when you're trying to find the gas canisters for the generator.
Right.
That's me so far. That was probably the biggest open area you can go in, and that's the only big open area you can go in. They have more expansive areas.
That's like my favorite part of the game.
Like the fact that I had an objective that felt very
shit.
open world, like, oh, you got to go to here and here to check, but you have all this open space to explore and to find out. And there was even places where you can't.
It fits the last of us very well.
There was even places where you can't even open the door from the outside, so you had to figure out to break the window, and then you go inside, and then you can do that. You know,
right? And you can unlock doors, and then you have that little. I like that mechanic, by the way.
And the missable moment was in that the part with the guitar and Dina. That was in that level, but
the music store.
There was no more of that throughout the rest of the game. Because
Right.
they wanted to like jam this plot forward, like, and it didn't.
Right.
That's ultimately like the thing. My biggest dislike about the game itself, not the story, but the game, and that's the sense that I started playing the game just for the story, not for the game. So like when I was just pushing through areas, I was amazed by how beautiful it looks, and I really wanted to take it all in, but I was just in my head, I was just like, I just want to get to the next part to see the next cutscene to see what happens next. You know?
Yeah.
And then you play.
But that's not.
Then you play with that. But you should
We'll get there.
20 hours.
Okay, so while we're still on the subject of Ellie's Seattle days, my favorite sequence so far has been her finding out about stalkers. And like she's running away from that and runs right into the Seraphites, and she gets shot by an arrow. Remember?
Yeah.
So it's like you don't even. There's two sequences in a row where you don't see them coming at all. And I was just like, holy shit, like this, like that, those two moments were like, I think the most immersed I was in a game in The Last of Us, because it just totally takes you by surprise, but you're not thrown out of the game.
Correct.
It's not a story moment. I mean, it's a story moment, but it's not like a cutscene. Like it's part of it to like, oh shit, and you have to remove the arrow, and you don't know where it came from, and they're whistling, and it's a like a bunch of tall bushes and tall trees, and you can't see shit. So it's like it was just like amazing atmosphere, and it was a very like chilling moment for me that I wish like this game has those moments, but I think I don't know, it's interesting because like the game itself as a game is awesome, you know, and they could have done more with those optional things. I agree with you, but for the things that they did do. Yeah. Did well.
But the reason why I think that the game, because those moments were some of the best moments in the game. They were the game. Okay, again, when we were talking about the small spaces, the reason why I think that's amazing is because video games have a video game language, right? When you play God of War and you need to climb something, it's always marked in yellow. That's letting you know you can climb that, you can't climb anything else. Uncharted, same thing. It has like a white marking on it. It lets you know you could climb this, but you can't climb anything else.
With the little
scratching everything. And that lets you know as soon as you see that subconsciously in your head, you're like, "That's right, I'm in a video game. I can't climb this. I gotta go there." But the mechanic of allowing you to be able to fit into small spaces allows you to stop thinking like this is a video game. You're just playing until you meet that invisible wall or that thing that's video gamey and gets you out of that immersion. But because of the game's amazing mechanics and even the fighting, like the dodging mechanic, I love that.
Yeah. When you fall, when you get shot and you can like fire backwards prone.
Yes, Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 5. Like
it's like
it's the stealth mechanics were great. I loved the fluid motion of the mechanics. Just like I was playing with my dad yesterday, and I was in the part when you first see the dogs, and I hate the fact that as Ellie,
We're gonna talk about that.
Man, I hate that.
I fucking killed every dog. I fucking hated them.
Me too.
I hated the stalkers. Well, what the fuck can you do? These motherfuckers.
And the dogs are ruthless.
Can't go
They'll come after you, and if you don't shoot a headshot, it's twice.
Yeah.
But
No, I would light them up with the fucking Molotov. Fuck that.
Oh my god. Molotovs for the dogs.
Abby's
damn.
coming for you, bro. I swear.
Wait, so you were fucking barbecuing hot dogs the whole game?
Whole fucking game.
This
God damn,
fucking
dude.
guy.
I'd throw an empty bottle, they all go, and then I'd light them up.
Damn.
Yeah,
Had to be
sometimes, yeah,
Had to be
you had to
done.
do
Hate
it.
dog.
But the fact that like
I killed them all too.
it's the only way to explore the area, because if you don't kill all the people,
Yeah. If you do it stealth, you can't explore. So
But then what fucked me up was when we were playing Abby's part, and then all these dogs had names, and then they were all cool with them. You're like, "Fuck, I killed Toby," you know.
Alice.
Damn.
Alice was the one that Ellie killed right before killing Mel and Owen. The pregnant girl
Yeah.
and the
But see,
cheater
that didn't even bother me, and I'll tell you why. Because I've killed like maybe 5 million fucking dogs in video games. So like, just because you gave it a name, doesn't change that I fought for my life over it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
agree.
I'm like so beyond desensitized to killing dogs because of every single game that has attack dogs. Like, I don't know, it was kind of cheap to me. Like they wanted to make you feel sad, but it's like, what am I supposed to feel sad about? Like,
I
I've done
think
this a
that
million times.
ultimately. Okay, so one thing I noticed in the game that the first game did a few times too. It's just it takes me out of it is that there's moments like the whole game you're killing like hundreds of people. You're killing dogs. You're killing people. You're killing infected. You're burning them. You're shooting them in the head. You're shooting them with arrows. You're blowing them up with mines. Like it's violent already, but in the moments that it's like that in between cutscene and like gameplay, it's not quite a cutscene, but it's not quite gameplay. Yeah. Like so, for example,
moments.
there's the first scene that comes into mind is when Jesse shows up, when he says the line that Joel says in the trailer. And he's like, and they're in the car.
Yeah.
And he's like trying to turn on the car.
You didn't think
yeah.
I'd let
And
you
he's
do
like
this
trying to turn
alone.
on the car, and then a guy breaks through the window and like grabs him in a chokehold, and then Ellie shoots the guy in the head, and then he's like, Jesus. And he goes in, and I just remember looking at that. I'm like, I just killed like 8 people right before that happened. And why weren't you freaking out over that?
But that guy, I mean, because that one was right
but
next to
that
him, I guess.
happens throughout the
No, I
game
mean, the
a
thing
lot.
is, those are
Exactly.
scripted,
But the
so-
problem is with that is that then you make me kill 15 dogs and expect me to care about Alice. Because it plays for the plot,
not
and it
gonna
doesn't work. Exactly. It just, for me, like, okay, if you would have never made me kill a dog throughout the whole game, and that was the first dog I killed, and then you made me play as Abby, and then I saw what I did, and then later on I killed other dogs, okay, then maybe I would have been like, oh, okay, like,
Maybe.
damn, like, because the first time I killed a dog, it killed me. Hearing it scream and everything, the audio design in this game is phenomenal. And, like, and for me,
it's
like,
good,
it broke my heart. I was like, oh no, like, I didn't want to kill you. But then, like, after
That
but then after like
whimper.
4 or 5 times, I'm like, okay, like, move on. So when I killed Alice, I was like, okay, like, it's just another dog trying to kill me. I'm out. Don't care. So then when the game's like, no, you should care. It's got a name. Abby liked it. I'm just like, I don't care. It tried to kill me.
But I don't like Abby, so
could
why would I
less
care?
about Abby. I think through the whole game, I think it was just a character development. It's just all what it is. I think this whole game is a character development for the future of this franchise that is Last of Us. I think it's.
But the
it's
problem
just
is
the
that they're trying to develop a character who didn't matter, and they're trying to instill the idea and about hatred, right? That the cycle of violence and the hatred, right? Joel kills a doctor. The doctor has a daughter. That daughter kills Joel. Now Ellie goes after her. You know, she goes to kill her. She ends up killing the
Yeah.
boyfriend, who's cheating on his pregnant girlfriend, which we're supposed to like somehow. And then, you know, it's a cycle of violence that happens, and I get it. But the problem is that the whole game is violent. I'm killing constantly. So all those people that I killed on my way to Abby all have daughters probably, or sons. And so, what do you like? What does that have to do with the overall story? What does that have to do with Ellie's immunity? What does that have to do with the Fireflies? What does that have to do with anything that the first game built up?
That's
Yeah.
that's one of my main points is that they wrote this game with theme first rather than story and character first. And it should be the opposite. Because they're like violence bad, but do violence, but violence bad, do violence. Violence is bad. It's like Jesus, man, like we understand that. That's why we're here playing the game instead of doing it out there.
Man, I think Abby's character, again, the respect goes out the window after Joel, and she weirdly, every time I saw her, you know, sleeveless, it just reminded me of, like, you know, the episode of SpongeBob where he
blow-up
goes
arm?
to Muscle fucking Park, and it's just,
Yep.
you know, like, first of all, you don't see her work out once.
Yeah.
A. B. Why, from the flashbacks from her with her dad running through the park, then they save a zebra, then you know who Owen is the love interest. Like, what happened from there to the death of her dad? Like, did she just do push-ups for fucking 3 years?
The answer is yes. She turned herself into a killing machine in order to kill Joel.
Yeah,
Because she talks about never missing practice, and Owen's like, "Let's have fun," and Abby's like, "No, I gotta train." She says that like a million times because like she has like a super one-track mind.
Which I'm okay with, by the way. Let's
Yeah.
let's
part makes sense.
I want you guys to understand something on my perspective, whether you agree or not. I don't mind Abby's journey. I don't mind Abby's background. I don't mind Abby's motivation. I don't mind her muscles. I don't mind any of that. I think it's okay. I think you know, in that world, yeah, like everyone should be fucking buff because there's no chilling at home watching TV or watching Netflix. There's going out and working. So yeah, I'm
Right.
okay with the physique of her. I'm okay with her turning herself into a killing machine. My problem with that is that it's all assumed. And my problem with that is that you're taking a character and adding sympathy instead of just giving sympathy. Like, they're just trying to make me care about the people around her, so I understand how she feels when Ellie kills them, but I don't care about the people around her because the people. So I guess we're already done with the Ellie Seattle 123, which is good because I really want to. Actually, no. Let's talk about the theater before we get into Abby. Let's really talk about this, okay?
Abby Theater
Okay.
Day 3 or Ellie?
Ellie Theater Day 3, which I guess when it begins, that
it crosses
moment
over to Abby, okay.
where she shows up, shoots Tommy in the head, well, kills Jesse, which, by the way, I really like Jesse. I felt like he was so it pissed me off.
He was underused to
That's
me.
what pissed me off because I saw more of Manny and Owen and Mel and Lev and Yara and all these freaking people. I saw more of Isaac than I saw of Jesse.
Yep.
You know? And like,
it was weird.
I don't get it. I don't get that part.
And he was funny,
I liked
man.
him.
Jesse, like, the first thing he does is fucking bust at Ellie's balls, like, from the get-go.
First thing you do is get with my girl after we break
It was
up?
awesome.
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, I think he's the comedic
But it was
relief.
fucked up, though.
Yeah, the comedic relief that she needed.
He says that.
I think that part
But
I think that part where she shows up at the theater and she kills Jesse. I wanted to know what your guys like opinion was when the next scene started and you're playing as her.
I was pissed because that happened multiple times where like something happens and then I get, you know what reminds me of the movie Vantage Point where it's like, oh, I'm about to find out. No, the fuck you're not. I'm gonna throw you back 3 days and then we're gonna do this shit all over again. No, and then when she came in, shot Jesse, and then she shot Tommy in the face, right?
Yeah, she
It's
shot him like
Correctly.
It's kind of like coming from behind,
Okay, so Tommy's technically like 50 Cent now. So
right?
and it's like fuck. Like I went through all this.
Can we
trouble
talk
to
about
get to
Tommy
the
for a
theater to
second? I'm
figure
so
this
sorry.
out. Yo, you want to talk about Tommy?
Can we
I'd
talk
love
about
to
Tommy
talk
for a
about
second?
Tommy. We should have been
Sure.
able to play as Tommy. Where the fuck is Tommy? Why?
You know what?
Play as
Now that you mentioned that, imagine if we did
the
half
sniper.
the game as Ellie and half the game as Tommy,
That would have been so much better. Like that scene where
and we could have been sniping at her.
that's what I was about to say. That whole scene with Owen and Abby running through the fucking parking garage,
Manny and
shooting
Abby.
cars and shit. Like, what was the point of that flashback with Abby? I'm sorry, Ellie.
It's to
practicing
show how
sniping
good he
with
is
Tommy
as a
in the
sniper.
mountains.
It's literally just it's literally just to set up that
the
later
reason
fight.
why I'm bringing up
Yeah,
of
but I think what
Tommy
unlocked
is that
to it.
he, for me, is the most what's the term I'm looking for? He's the most like inconsistent character throughout the whole game. He starts off as this super kind,
Oh yeah,
come back to our place, we got you, this and that. To, then he's like, Ellie, you don't know, like, if we put our best people on this, we're gonna leave Jackson vulnerable. We don't know how big they are, how armed they are. Like, please give me a day. Like, just give me a day. Okay, I'll give you a day. Next day, he's out there.
and then
He's
he
murdering
gets the
people.
jump
He's
start.
killing people. He's like, he's ravaging everything. He's kind of like cleaning up house for you. And then he's this great sniper. Yeah.
he's
and
fucking
then,
Rambo.
he's Rambo. So he can kill all those people, all those wolves, everyone that was around. And then they're at the theater. And they're at the theater, and he gets his butt whooped by Abby, and he can't disarm her, and he gets shot, and then he's, presumed dead. And then he went from all that to then at the end of the game, like being like, you promised me you'll get him. And
Yeah,
but he was the one
It's
that was
just-
trying to stop her. So
I think
like, how do you
I
go
think it
from
was-
like this like lovable, gentle man who I get it, like he had a past of him and Joel like doing stuff, and he was Fireflies and all that stuff, but then he became like this crazy mercenary who can only be taken down by Abby. And then Ellie's this crazy mercenary who can only be taken down by Abby. Joel is this crazy mercenary who can only be taken down by Abby. So for me, like, I love Tommy, and I wanted to see more of Tommy. I wanted to be able to do a thing or two more with him and Jackson, maybe even like stupid minuscule things like helping out. But like, I didn't get enough of him, and two, the amount I did get of him was completely inconsistent. But go ahead, sorry.
yeah.
I think the whole Tommy getting shot basically in the head. I mean,
fake death?
so that one of the last scenes is him going to Dina and Ellie's house, with JJ, which, side note, JJ is Jesse Jr. or Joel Jr.?
I think
it's
he's
not Junior.
Jesse Joel.
There's no Junior. Yeah, it's Jesse Joel.
I think he's Jesse Joel
So it's Jesse
or
Joel?
Joel Jesse.
Yeah,
I don't know.
just to reference, Neil Druckmann made a tweet that said that none of the J's stand for Junior. So I'm assuming it's Jesse and Joel.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. But anyways, so that whole scene with him coming back, like, hey, I got a hit where this girl's at. You notice that his face is kind of like disfigured, and he has a limp. So he got for sure some sort of brain damage, which got healed somehow. But he's still able to ride a horse. So like, where does Tommy go after that? Like, why didn't he go get Abby?
All fucked
Why
up.
doesn't he have people to go get Abby? So kind of
The head of
leads to the
Jackson
question.
tells Ellie not to go out because it would leave Jackson vulnerable, and the head of Jackson goes out and tries to kill Abby, and then kills everyone but Abby.
Joel, I mean, look, they're brothers at the.
Of course he's gonna
if
go.
somebody comes and kills me or Josh, you're gonna fucking I don't give
Yeah,
a
but the
You're
stupid
gonna-
part
you're
about
gonna
it is
do
that
whatever.
the idea of Tommy going out to kill Abby, and you're gonna feed me some bullshit about Tommy's doing it because he knows that Ellie wants to do it, so he wants to do it before she gets there, so she doesn't get hurt. But then that's assuming that Tommy wipes out literally every single person he freaking runs into throughout the entire journey to Abby, and then wipes out everyone that Abby's on to protect Ellie, when he knows that when he leaves, Ellie's just gonna come also.
Yeah, he only bought himself like 8 hours.
Exactly. He could have literally just been like, okay, I'll go with you so I can protect you. Like, and they would have been a hell of a duo. Like him, her, Dina, and Jesse would have been the hell of a group. They have plenty of other people at
Oh
Jackson.
my god. Yo, that would have been crazy.
That would have been
Speaking of that-
fantastic if I
And that would actually be a callback a little bit to Uncharted when you have the whole group running around together.
Sully, Elena,
yeah, which
Nathan, Sam.
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
like this game. It's like, what if the next Uncharted, like, all right, Uncharted 5, we're gonna kill Drake this time.
Oh,
You know, like
You know what? My expectations would be subverted.
that they would.
I have to admit.
The problem is that I think we all expected Joel to die. I think
Yeah,
we
yeah.
all, like, everyone had that, and so I understand, like, okay, you kill off Joel really early, and that expectation's gone, and now you're playing the game without any expectations. And yeah, maybe if they would have introduced Abby and she would have, like, given into the group, whatever, maybe you would have been like, oh, like, you know, like, she's gonna kill Joel or whatever. But the way but because of the subverting expectations of killing him so early on, and playing as the person right before she does it, and then playing as her after, I think that just throws it off. But anyways, not to go off topic, but when you're that moment after, when you I don't know if you wanted to touch upon that, Josh, at the end of day 3, when you're right before you play as Abby. I don't know if there was anything you want to touch upon.
Touch upon what? Oh no, I'm good. I'll go with
Okay,
whatever.
so playing as Abby, what's your overall thoughts?
All right.
Bring it. Go for it.
A, too long. B, it was a character development that was unnecessary. Necessary to an extent, but not necessary. Like we saw this girl kill our dude, like Ellie's father figure, this guy that we've looked up to. You know, it's like, again, I said earlier, it's like killing Nathan from Uncharted, or it's killing fucking Super Mario. Like, you're killing someone that has such a great, you know, figure in that whole game. What do you expect for us to like about this chick that inevitably fucking savagely murdered this guy in front of us
No.
in cold blood and overkilled him with a golf club? Like, what do you expect for us as a gamer to take from this? You know, I think again, it was way too long. Like, I get it. It was a character development thing. Like, okay, we need to know what the relationship with Jesse is. I'm sorry, not Jesse. Owen. To them being together, to them how they got together, how, you know, the relationship with their father, and then when the father dies, and then looking for Ellie, and then how she got that all mixed up in her head, you know, which inevitably messed her and Owen up. So I think it was too long, and then from them breaking up, you know, her and Owen, which was, you know, whatever, and then them getting together, which was weird too, you know. But
The random sex scene, yeah.
the random sex with the chick with biceps. I mean,
I feel like Josh has a lot to say, so I'm ready for it.
yes. So yes, Josh, your input.
Okay, so I have a lot of mixed feelings because she's like in a good and a bad way, she's like playing Joel in the first game. In a good way, she has all the best weapons. She has the brawler mode with the punching and everything. She also has like the best fucking levels and the biggest gigantic set pieces, like the crane and the sky thing. The ship was pretty cool to me personally. I like the ship part where it's like every level you have to kill every like sneak around all the clickers and everything. And I don't know, like she had a lot of awesome moments, but at the same time, she's a direct ripoff of playing as Joel because she has shivs that break. Ellie doesn't because she has her switchblade. She has the shivs, and Joel had the shivs that break. And she's also following the exact same story of finding a kid, and she's regaining her humanity with a kid. So it's like, even story wise, it's a direct knockoff of Joel. And then on top of that, she's boring as fuck. Like, she has a one-track mind, and it's either if the only thing that distracts her from her one-track mind is that she's afraid of heights. And like, I don't give a fuck. Like, okay, she has. Is that even a character flaw? Like, it's not really a flaw. It's just a thing people have.
Yeah,
but that's one thing people have out of many. Yeah. I didn't get anything else out of her except that she's obsessed and that she is afraid of heights. So like when she's like talking to Lev, and Lev is explaining about like seraphites and everything, like that was the interesting part of playing as Abby. Like learning about the Scar, like how the Scars have like a civil war going on and shit like that. Like that's cool.
Yeah.
But Abby's learning about this. She doesn't have much input. So again, dead character. Like, it's just boring.
I think that whole Civil War scene with the fire and that fighting and everything, I thought that shit was cool as fuck. Regardless of it being Abby or not, that whole...
Oh, again, another big, gigantic set piece that Abby has.
This game was clearly Abby's game. This was The Last of Us part Abby. Because by the time I finished playing as Abby, I couldn't remember a single thing that I did as Ellie. I'm being 100% honest.
Yeah,
I don't
wasn't much.
No,
yeah,
not
like
only did it matter, but I don't
right
remember. Like I don't remember. Like I remember I beat it. I remember after I played as Abby, I was just like, "Where are we again?" Oh, that's right. She's at the theater. How did we get there again?
Yeah,
that's right. When did Jesse show up? What did I do as Abby? What did I do as Ellie? I remember going to that open area and like the safe. But what happened after that? Like, I don't remember. And still, I'm replaying it now, and I'm constantly like, oh my god, I forgot I did this. Oh my god, I forgot I did that. And like, because it was so long of you playing as Abby. And again, we're going back to what I said in the beginning of this is the last Jedi of video games for me. Because even the useless mission for me of her having to get Yara's freaking medical supplies just for her to die 5 seconds in, and then when you do, and then they do a thing where they make you take turns. They make you play the first time with Lev to get Yara's medical supplies, and then you play as Yara to go get Lev. But each time they kind of like leave you alone because then, you know, they get to a point where, oh, I don't have a gas mask. Okay, then I got to go by myself. And then you're playing by yourself for a few hours.
Oh, I love that hotel fight though.
Hands down, Abby's missions were phenomenal. They were awesome. The set pieces were great.
Yeah.
Everything about it was memorable. Like it was great. It was just like it felt very much like, okay, we're gonna let you play as Abby. We're gonna introduce you to everyone, and we want you to really feel like you're friends with everyone that she is, and we really want you to like her. So we're gonna give her the best stuff. We're gonna give her the best weapons, the crossbow. We're gonna give her the best set pieces, the best places, the best levels, the best like storytelling, like action parts of the game. So that way you can like be like, oh yeah, I love that part of the game. I liked Abby.
The boss
on the hospital
battle,
yeah, that was awesome.
The hospital all the way downstairs with a super fucking, I was gonna say necromorph. That's super
Abby moment.
Fucking that shit.
No, it was cool. It was cool.
Badass.
My thing is, in my opinion, when I started playing as Abby, I wanted to see how the writing was gonna get me to not only understand Abby's perspective, which I already did, I just didn't care. And that's very cold-hearted, right? It's like, okay, we want you to understand that this girl lost her father, And we want you to understand her seek for revenge. But first of all, I felt it, but I didn't feel it because you gave me all of Ellie's perspective, and there's like a few points I want to talk about. I just don't want to rant, but I'll get into that part in a second. Let me get into right at the beginning. You're introduced to the characters of, first of all, the stadium that they're in is really cool. I thought that the Wolf compound was pretty awesome, the way it looked and the way everything was running.
Yeah.
And you get introduced to the characters. You get introduced to Owen. You get introduced to Mel. You get introduced to Manny and all the other people. And I'm like, okay, like I get it. You're going to try to get me to be friends with everyone and like them. I didn't give a shit about any of them. None of them for me, other than Manny, was likable at all. Mel,
don't even care about
I
Manny.
liked Mel only because she hated Abby, because she knew that Abby was a piece of shit. Like, that's the only reason I liked her. Manny, the only reason I liked him was because he was Latino and he had a few funny comebacks. That's it. Owen was a cheating piece of shit. He was cheating on his pregnant girlfriend with the buff girl.
And he's the good force in Abby's life, apparently.
And like, he was just a douche. He didn't care. He was cheating on his girlfriend with her, and he was constantly like, playing her hard and playing with her. And for me, I was like, I don't like this guy. This guy's a douchebag. And then Mel doesn't like Abby, and I understand why. And then Manny's there, and that's it. I don't remember any of the other characters. They didn't really play a part for me. But already at that point, I was just like, you're not at a good foot. When I started off as Ellie, I already knew that Jesse and Dina were together and they were broken up. And I already had like a joke right at the beginning with Jesse, and he was like generally talking to her and having a conversation. I find out about Dina, and I find out that Dina's first kill ever was when she was 10 years old. I find out that she's the largest amount of infected that she killed was about like 20 at one time. I find out about her fears. I find out about her loves. I find out about her scars. And like, they fully flesh out this character in the amount of time that they had. And I grew to care for Dina. I was like, damn, I like this girl. This girl's cool. She's badass. She protects Ellie when she falls and the clicker comes out for the first time. And her aim is just on point. It's just like, she's protecting Ellie with everything she's got, and I'm just like, this is my bid. Like, she's gonna protect me, bro. Like, I like her. And that's what they didn't do with the 15 freaking hours of Abby's playthrough. At no point in time did I feel anything for the other supporting characters, and at any point did I ever feel connected to any of them. Like, that's how I felt.
I feel like all we got from Abby was a weird storyline, it was, very dragged out.
It could have been like 3-4 hours, and that's it.
Super buff chick with super weird boob pecs.
Can't get over the arms, bro.
You can't.
Dude, gotta follow her workout regimen if you want to get that big, man. She's swole.
Oh man, I don't want boob pecs. But besides the fact, are we gonna overpass it? Are we gonna get to?
Oh yeah, no,
farm?
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Have we
No. We're right now like, we're still talking about the when you first play as Abby. Like,
Can I mention something really quick? Did anyone also feel that they used pregnancy as like a plot device, and it was really stupid and pointless?
Yeah, because it was too.
Because they were trying to mirror everything with Abby with Ellie. They were mirroring the love triangle between Owen, her, and Mel.
Right.
Between Dina, Jesse, and Ellie. They were mirroring the pregnancy with Dina and Mel.
Right.
They were mirroring the loss of fatherhood, which is Joel and the doctor. They were mirroring the quest of her like gaining back her humanity by helping out a child, which is what Joel did. Like, they literally just mirrored everything as a way of like, we can't figure out how to get you to like Abby, so we're just gonna make her exactly like the characters you did like, and just think that
copy and
work.
paste.
And it didn't work.
Yep.
You know?
took 6 years to do that.
It took it took 20 hours learning about these characters before they made the crazy decisions that they did. In The Last of Us Part 2, you learn about Abby for about 6-7 minutes before she makes the crazy decision that she did. And so from then on, if you would have started off, if The Last of Us Part 1 would have been you play as Joel killing the doctor, and then immediately after you play as Abby, I would have, and then the rest of the game you play as Abby hunting down Joel, I would have hated Joel. I would have been like the same position as Abby. I would have been like, I need to kill this guy. He killed my dad, blah, 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 blah. And it would have been great because they would have fleshed that out. I would have go through that journey. I would have found him, whatever, boom.
Right, and hopefully with
Exactly.
better characters.
Exactly.
Like supporting cast.
So then when you play this game and you're only giving her half the game, and out of that half, you're not even touching upon the dad part. You're touching upon her friends that don't matter.
And these new people that she just met.
Let's talk about that.
So it's like,
Lev and Yara. Opinions.
Yara, don't really care about. Lev, he's the only thing about Lev, because Lev barely talks.
You mean fucking Aang, the last Airbender? Because that's what I
Yes.
called him the whole time.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
The interesting thing about Lev is that like they found a very interesting way to shed light on like what a trans life would be like, because it's not like where like Jackson, where everyone except for Seth was pretty open accepting, and it's not like a bash your head in with less than like here's your fucking biggest sandwich. It's not that. With Lev, he's conflicted because of his mother being very religious, and it's kind of like it mirrors more what it is like now, but they put that into that world. So I found that to be interesting.
Lev was way more interesting than Abby. Like his story was way more interesting than Abby.
And he kills his mom like
by accident.
You don't even see it. But it's crazy. Like he goes by himself all the way back to the stair fight. The base, whatever you call that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I like, even though Lev is quiet and timid, and I still found that story interesting, but only because of him, not because of Abby. You know what I mean?
He's a very silent killer.
Very
silent.
Yeah, but he's also in the bow when the plot freaking wants it to be. But the thing is, Yara and Lev. Here's my 2 cents on it. I love, and I mean I love, the Seraphites. I love that inclusion. I love that like religious cult, like the freaking whistle. I can't even whistle right now, but the whistling, like it was scary. It was like, okay, for the first time, other than the infected, I'm now in fear. Like, yeah, because when it's people, I'm like, chill them, like, wipe them out.
It gave me a very Negan feel, which I love to like. That was a great experience to feel like, damn, like it's people now that I'm fucking, and it's not people with guns, it's people with
and guns. Like it's very much
quiet.
like
they don't use technology. Dude, they're like murder Amish people.
But it was the first time that I fought human AIs and I actually felt like they were a threat. Like when it's regular humans, I feel like I could just run. Even I'm playing on Survivor Plus, I still feel like I could run around, throw bottles, shoot, whatever. And I could do that with the Seraphites, but I have to
think way more tactically about it though.
And I love their inclusion of it, and I like the idea of Seraphites that are going rogue and all that other stuff. I think it's cool. Yeah. What I don't like is that, and I don't understand, is Abby's sudden want to risk everything, risk her life, risk her faction, risk her ideas, everything for literally two people she met in a few hours. That originally, remember she was hanging, and she's like, "Oh, cut her down," and she's like, "But she's one of them." Like, no, cut her down. They took a good while to cut her down. They would have taken like a few more seconds. She probably would have been knocked out if not dead. And so, like, okay, she gets down. They kill a few clickers, stalkers. What's up, John?
But no,
And they go their separate ways.
Yeah, no. I was gonna say before that there was we get introduced to Abby a long time ago. We just didn't know Abby was Abby because that was I don't remember the teaser trailer that came out.
Which I originally thought that was. I originally thought that this story at some point was going to include Ellie's mom, and I thought that was going to be Ellie's mom. And I thought that was when you told me, because I told you not to spoil it, but you gave me like a little hint of like something about the doctors. I was like, was like one of the doctors Ellie's mom or something, which would make sense on why Marlene like was so close to Ellie and she knew her mom.
She was a nurse.
So like that's what I thought.
Twist. What if Abby later on?
No, they're the same age. So, but with Yara, and Lev, like I don't. It was so forced. Of like, they met.
Well, this is the thing. I'll explain that to you because like, they want her character to start from revenge to regaining humanity. So where did logic go? Out the window because they wanted to force that.
I know.
You know, because what should have happened was she helped them for like a little bit because they saved her, and then they go their separate ways. That's what would have happened.
And then they cross in the future or something.
In a real life situation.
You know? Yeah, but the thing is exactly what you said. They forced it. And the reason why they did it, I get it, is because they're trying to get her to gain her humanity. But so you're telling me that she spent her entire like rest of her teenage life, like from if she was the same age as Ellie, 14 to 19 years old, she spent all that time focused on killing Joel for killing her dad.
Yeah.
But then she sacrifices everything to save two Seraphites, who is a part of a cult that has killed who knows how many of her people.
And for no reason. Like
that's the thing.
And they were very rejecting of her. They only stuck with her to survive, and then after that they were very much like leave us alone. Like we're And then she was like, you know what? I have to do it.
She had to re-inject herself.
Yeah, she's like, no, I have to do it. So let me go sacrifice everything and go save their lives. I don't even know if they're still there, but let me go save their lives. And then boom. And then like, yeah. And then like, okay, like she saves them. And then they go on the mission for Yara's medical supplies, which was fun. The hotel was fun. And then, like that whole... Lev was interesting, but he was so forgettable because, like you said, like he's Avatar: The Last Airbender. He doesn't know much of what's going on. He's shy. He's timid. He's basically a dog companion that can talk a few times. Like that's it. Like if they would have gotten into more deep conversations, like really into the cult thing and like what he's been through, kind of, and whatever, maybe like see a scar or two.
Yeah, he could have been the little mouthpiece explaining the scars.
He could have been the Mimir.
All he explained was that
he could have been the Mimir of Last of Us. From God of War.
Yeah, exactly.
This Last of Us 2 has those little things, those little questions that we have. I think it's just all very much keeps coming up. The character development for the future.
Why do you think? You think that they're going to continue the franchise with Abby mostly, like as the main protagonist?
I don't know if you want to save it to the end, but I think the future of Last of Us, there has to be some dynamic with Tommy and Ellie now alone with Dina. God knows where she went with the baby. Did she go back to Tommy's place? Did she do her own thing?
She went
did
back to Jackson.
She get kidnapped? Yeah, did she get but
who knows?
Where does Abby go?
She went to exactly where your background is.
Her people are against her.
Your background. Catalina, whatever that's called. Where the fireflies are, apparently.
and that's a
Yeah,
whole
but that was a
other
trap.
question.
That's what they lead
Yeah.
you to believe, because what they're saying
Was
from
it?
every stream I've seen, especially with Troy Baker and stuff, they're saying that right there, that scene is actually like Catalina or something. That they made it to Catalina or something.
The round
Yeah.
building.
I know there was a round
What about
building
it?
in the area you're in, but in this, they're saying like in this scene that's the boat of Abby and Lev, and they
Yeah,
like got to wherever the Fireflies were.
So she went to the wrong round building and got captured.
Basically,
I don't understand.
that's essentially what
I
it's. I mean, it's a round building, but yeah,
I think-
that's.
so-
No, remember the
so let
round
me get
building
this
that was introduced was with Ellie,
That's-
not with Abby. Abby was told on the radio, "Hey,
Yeah.
we're Fireflies, whatever, 200 strong." She got out. She got
that's
captured.
true.
Ellie was
That's
the
true.
one that was told by the guy that it was by a round building, and so this
True.
this scene is saying that
Yeah,
that's Abby and Lev's boat, and they made it to Catalina, whatever this place is called, and that's where the Fireflies are at.
So
Okay.
again, yeah, so that goes to what I'm saying. Does Abby go to the Fireflies? Like, what does that mean? Like, where do they still have this thing with Ellie? Like, can we save the planet with Ellie? We have doctors now that figured out, or maybe why? And then that goes to the big question: is why is Ellie the only one that is immune? Like, what makes her immune? Like, what happened?
I mean, who knows? It's not an important question, apparently.
Yeah, like first of all, we don't know anything about Ellie's background. I mean, there was the DLC that we just essentially
How
know,
she got bit.
Her sexual orientation, how she got bit. Her friend that died with her, that they were supposed to die together per se. But
The problem is that we're left in a spot where it's like, hey, the first game, the main plot, the plot point, and the thing that's driving the game is getting Ellie to the Fireflies for the cure. But the overall theme of the game is learning how to love again after, losing the ones you love. And then, that's the whole thing of the first one. And then the second one, and here's the thing, it's not Last of Us 2, it's Last of Us Part 2. So it's supposed to be a continuation of the first game. But that's not the same plot. That's not the same themes. That's not the same story. It's not the same characters. It's completely different. And then now the immunity.
Yeah.
And then the worst part for me, like, I know we're skipping ahead, but when she gets bit again at the end, and the guy's like, "Oh, you're bit," whatever, and she's like shrugging it off, like, "I know it ain't gonna do shit."
yeah, I
So
thought.
now I was like, now she doesn't
Now
care,
I'm
just
like,
my
this is
knowledge.
when she gets bit. This is when she like uses her immunity. This is when her immunity matters. Like now,
Yeah.
like why not have a scene
Yeah.
where she like like an infected is about to bite someone, and she sticks her arm out so that she gets bit instead to protect the other person, and the other person is like, "Oh my god, you got bit, you're getting infected," and then that's when she reveals that no, she's not. Like, I don't know.
That goes to the big picture, the big overall, like why, how, why doesn't she do this? And Abby now knows that she's immune, like for sure. Like, well, I mean, she knew to begin with because with her father and shit, but like now she could be like, hey, that chick is immune. We can fucking do something. Or she goes to the Fireflies. The Fireflies like, hey, we figured out how to do it. Now we can find her, and we could do this. So now, because Ellie saves Abby in that whole like crucifixion shit, which, again, we're getting ahead of the schedule, but like, why wasn't there a cutscene to see the jailbreak that led her and Aang to get crucified? You know what I'm saying? Like, we had a
Aang.
cutscene for the stupidest shit. Why couldn't we get a cutscene for like the jailbreak? I think the jailbreak would have been kind of cool to play as Abby and shit, and then get caught. But regardless of the fact that this what goes towards like the future, like what if something happens in which now, since Ellie's in a way, or definitely in a way, saved Abby from death because Ellie was fucking her up towards the end, to a point where like she was about to drown her and didn't.
Going back
Why?
to Abby playing as Abby for the first time is
Mhm.
and touching on what you're saying, the thing that pisses me off, like, immensely, is that the game tries to get you to understand Abby's perspective and to get on Abby's side. But Abby gets to have her revenge and feel no remorse over it. She literally, if she knew who Ellie was, which I'm sure she did, because if the only argument that these people that you have is that, oh, she knew that was the Joel because of Joel and Tommy. She's heard, because remember, Joel says, y'all act like you've heard of us before. So if the only confirmation is that Tommy has a brother named Joel, and that's how she found out, then she obviously has to know about Ellie. Like, it's obvious, right? So she knows that Joel saved Ellie's life because he loved her, and that's why she ended up killing her dad. And so she's literally beating the shit out of Joel to death in front of his daughter figure that he risked his life to save. And she's like okay with it. And then after that happens, she's okay with it. Like, it wasn't like the death of, you have towards the end of the game, you have Ellie suffering PTSD over Joel. But you don't have anything after Abby kills Joel. Like, I didn't feel anything for her. If she would have still had like some type of PTSD or something of like the killing of Joel didn't solve the problem she was trying to solve. And you see that emotional breakdown, that emotional mentality. And then it's her idea of helping these kids from the Seraphites. Well, maybe killing someone doesn't fix it, but maybe helping someone from death does. And then she does all that. I would have probably felt a little bit more towards her.
Do you think that it was like kind of like, hey, I killed Joel, but I killed Owen and his girl, and basically your whole team?
No, but like, remember,
Seattle
Day 1, when it starts off, and her and Owen and all that go out, that's after she killed Joel. Yes. So she already killed Joel, and everyone's still alive.
Yeah, she's fine.
And she's perfectly fine. She's walking around, she's joking, she's playing with the dogs, she's, messing around with Owen, and she's flirting with him, even though he's got a pregnant girlfriend, and he knows it, and he's a douchebag. And she's perfectly fine. If they would have never had her kill Joel, if I would have never watched the first 2.5 hours, and I would have started off right at Abby, I would have never known that Joel died. Like, for her, it didn't affect her. It didn't answer any questions for her. It didn't fill that void for her. Like, her entire purpose for 5 years.
She didn't even acknowledge that there's a void after him.
That there's a what?
Like, she was 100% okay.
I think, again,
she was 100% okay, but she worked, like, we start off in the beginning. She is massively built. Her entire 4 or 5 years was to become a killing machine for one goal and one goal only, to kill Joel.
Right.
With any type of character that's worth writing, if that character has a single goal and reaches that goal, there has to be a moment of self-reflection in which they either feel fulfilled, like in John Wick when he finally kills the guy who killed his dog, and he did it, he's done, he's retired, it filled his void, that's what he wanted, he's done, boom. Or you have a story like this, which is all about revenge, and if she finally kills him, but she needs to have a self-reflection of realizing that, okay, I killed him, but I didn't get my dad back, so I feel this void. And then her starting to develop that, like, my whole, like, I focused all these years to kill him, and now I didn't. Now what? What's my purpose? I don't understand. Like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, that, I didn't get any of that. They try to force that perspective by having her, like, randomly care for these 2 kids she just met a few hours ago and sacrifice everything for them. But it didn't tell me anything about her. It didn't tell me, like, that she was feeling that void and that was her way of, like, feeling that. She felt perfectly fine.
As how we were saying earlier, that it's like a comparison, like the two things, the shit that happens to Ellie happens to Abby, the same love triangle, all that bullshit. Now, Abby, her father died years back. Ellie just lost Joel. She just had that taken away from her. So she wasn't able to.
No,
fill the
I'm talking
void.
about Abby. I'm sorry if I didn't clarify.
Yeah. I'm saying like Abby, she because of her compassion that she got saving, Aang, and that whole shit that went down, then because of that, she started to feel human. Like, damn, like I don't have Owen. His girl died. My people died. Like this person now, I have to protect.
Oh, that hasn't happened yet.
Well, yeah, I'm just kind of like skipping towards the whole end scene where like Ellie has the knife to the kid, and she's like, "You fight me, or I kill him." So
Right.
with being weak and all that shit, she still's like, "All right, you want to fight? All right, well let's fight."
Yeah, they turn Ellie into the villain at the end.
Yeah, but then again, Ellie becomes how I told you earlier, she becomes the alien from Signs and is missing fucking 2 of her fingers, can't play guitar now, which fucking blows, and I hate, I'm skipping to the end again, but like Dina just left her and now she's
I don't blame Dina.
like, what the
I don't
fuck?
blame her.
Yeah, neither.
But it's a little selfish. I mean, granted, like
Good.
what
Ellie did was selfish too.
well, yeah, but I mean, granted, like if she would have gone and killed Abby, and then Dina was gone, I mean, I guess in the event that Ellie would have killed Abby, and then she came back and Dina was gone, it would have been like, all right, look what you did. This is your consequence. But like, she didn't even kill Abby.
Yeah,
and when
but
she got there,
she didn't want her to leave at all, so that's why she left. You get me?
Listen,
Well,
remember,
yeah,
remember,
like,
Dina's face got
for
smashed
Dina-
in and almost killed while she was pregnant, and her boyfriend
Yeah.
died. Her ex-boyfriend died
Yeah.
to this girl, and she
Yeah.
let them go. So for her, she's like, "Yo, we need to let this shit go." And then Ellie's just like, "Nah, I want to go get
Yeah.
him," which
Right.
I'm okay with her going to go get Abby. I felt the same because I was like, I understand Ellie's position. But that's the thing that the game did, is that they used it, for me, they used it in the reverse. They gave Ellie the PTSD of losing Joel, and then for you to understand that she can't eat and sleep, and that she feels this void of having to kill Abby. But then she gets to Abby again. We're at the end, but she has to kill Abby, whatever. And then she finds out that's not gonna, when she has that memory of Joel, she starts realizing like this isn't gonna fill that void. She isn't gonna, killing her isn't gonna bring Joel back, and so she lets her go. But that's not what happens with Abby. Abby doesn't do that. So I feel more for Ellie because I'm like, I get it, but with Abby, like her whole storyline from the beginning, I didn't feel like she had that with Joel. I didn't feel like she had that, like, I accomplished my mission, but it didn't.
She got all the plot armor.
Immensely.
Yeah.
More whiskey.
Yeah, undoubtedly. And after that theater scene, like, again, Abby Day 3, the theater scene. After that whole, that dynamic of going against Ellie was cool, but I hated it. It was like,
Right.
I purposely
like going
died
against.
probably about 20 times.
Of course.
Because I thought I had
Without
to
a
kill
doubt.
Ellie. I was like,
But-
no, it's not happening.
Yeah, yes, I thought that too. But it was cool seeing the two dynamics. Like, yo, even though Abby didn't have shit, she still fucked them up. You know what I'm saying? So that it goes to show. And that whole scene, like right after that whole bar scene and everything, and with the baby and shit, like that baby is easily 2 years old. And Dina wasn't, like, she was just beginning pregnancy, so we're talking 9 months plus 2 years, so almost 3 years after this event is the whole barn
I didn't even
scene,
think about that.
Right.
so yeah, even after that,
And Tommy the whole time is looking for Abby.
yeah, and the whole time she was going to California, and then getting
And
captured.
she was there for a few months too,
You know,
or something like that. I think a few months or almost a year.
Yeah. Yeah, from that point, from day 3, she went on her way to California to find the fireflies.
Right.
You know, but that whole barn scene,
However long
right?
that journey took.
Yeah, on foot. You know, it could have been months. You know, wherever the fuck the case is. But like, I thought that barn scene was Ellie's, like you know, like your life flashes through your
Mhm.
eyes.
Yeah.
That was Ellie's.
Oh, yeah.
Like the baby.
Yeah, like when she's like beat up in the theater,
You
like
know.
that's what she's thinking. Like that's like the life
Yeah.
flashing before her eyes, and she's thinking about the farm that Dina talked about and shit.
Yeah, which all made sense. Like, oh, we're gonna have a dog together. Oh, we're gonna have a farm. Oh, we're gonna take care of goats and cows and that shit. Like, I thought that, I was like, oh my god, this bitch inevitably killed these people. Like, holy shit. But no, obviously, you know, we see then, you know, what we talked about earlier, the Tommy coming in or whatever. But that whole scene in the theater going against Ellie was fucking incredible. I mean,
I thought the scene
yeah.
was great.
And she's using all the tools that you have against
Yeah.
you.
yeah,
Yeah,
was
seeing
cool
like
as
Ellie
fuck.
play
Yeah.
as if I'm
was
playing her,
interesting.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. I don't want to fuck with her,
Right.
dude. And her shooting was impeccable. Like she was just on point. Fucking
you know,
Yeah.
what we haven't
Mm.
talked about at all is the Joel and Ellie flashbacks. We haven't touched
Oh,
any of the flashbacks.
wait, I'm down to do that, but can I go back to Revenge a little bit?
Go for it.
yeah.
Okay. Here's my biggest problem with the Revenge. Part of it is like what you said, where it's lopsided. Like Ellie gets all the crushing weight of revenge, and Abby is scot free
chilling.
the whole game. So that's part of my thing, right? But if you're okay, so basically, if you have a revenge plot, and you want your character to not go through with it because they understand at the final moments that it's not good, right? If you want to do that, why is the whole last 3 hours of the game there? Because she could have realized that when she's surrounded by family and still alive somehow after getting her ass whooped. Like, that's like the moment when you're like, shit, man, this is 3 years. I'm seeing this little kid grow up. And even though he's 2 now, I want to go all the way over to California. So I just like, it doesn't make any sense to like
No, it
do
was
a whole new section like for her character. It doesn't make sense to like do that all over again. And it's like, it's if you're gonna do that, then make sure she goes through with it, because then when she comes back, she lost everything. She lost Dina,
Baby.
she lost her fingers, she lost Joel in the beginning. Then like the whole cycle of revenge thing makes sense, because then she loses her humanity, which is like the last thing.
Yeah.
Okay? But Ellie never loses her humanity, because at the last second, she never kills Lev, she never kills Abby.
On the contrary,
Like,
she saves them.
it doesn't make sense.
She saves
Right.
them. She saves them.
So it doesn't make sense. Like, what story are you trying to tell here? Because it's like, it's the wrong reward for the wrong action. You get what I mean? And that just doesn't make sense in my mind,
the
because
thing is that it would be better. I'm okay with her not killing Abby. I'm okay with that sequence of idea, but I think it would have been better if they would have touched upon more her struggle. Well, because the problem is that Ellie's character is completely different to the Ellie we know from the first game. And the flashbacks are the only remnants of that character that we know. Because once she finds out the truth from Joel, she's completely different. She's kind of bitchy. She's very unlikable in the sense of like how, I don't know how the other characters really relate to her, because she's super one note. She speaks as much as Lev. Like, it's not. She's not very interesting in that sense in a lot of ways. And I think it's because of the fact that she knows that her life could mean something more than what it is, and Joel took that from her, and we get that, but not a lot. And so at the end, when she has the farmhouse and she has all that, they focus her rage on Joel's death versus not just Joel's death, but the weight of that life of a farmhouse and baby and all that stuff just isn't for her. Because that's not her. She doesn't, from what I know from Ellie, she likes all that stuff, but she knows that she can do better. She knows that she can do better for the world. So for her, that's how I perceived it. I see her there, and I see her in my head. I'm thinking she's okay, this is nice and all, but this isn't me. And I'm sitting here when I'm the cure for the world. I could have the cure for the world, and I'm sitting here fucking dealing with sheep and dealing with this and dealing with that. And I think that coupled with the PTSD of Joel, eventually leading her to, and then the Joel thing pushing her to then hunt Abby, for her to realize this isn't me either. I need to go out and find myself and push for what Joel took away from me. Then you would have left the game off in a much more understanding note. Okay, she went to kill Abby. She realized that wasn't her. She realized she needed to let go of Joel. She needed to realize that she needed to let go of the hatred of Abby, and she needed to find herself and push herself. And they did it, but they didn't do it. And that's where my personally that's where my problem lies. Because I'm okay with her letting Abby live, because maybe there's something that they can do in the third game to where what they'll probably do. They'll probably have them pair up and go after the Fireflies. And
but do we want that?
I don't want
that.
Do
we
want
that?
I don't want Abby at all.
No, absolutely not. But I think that's what they're gonna do. I think something's gonna happen in which Abby has the opportunity to be like, "Hey, you saved me. Now I'm gonna save you. We're even. Let's just fucking. I don't like you. You don't like me. Let's just fucking move the fuck on." And then there's the Fireflies, and now.
But I don't think that would make for an interesting game.
Not at all.
To be honest.
But there has to be something. There has to be again. Tommy's doing
Abby becomes
whatever.
the head of the Fireflies. Lev becomes the head doctor, and then they go out to find Ellie to get the cure. And then whatever.
No, because maybe she does become something with the Fireflies. Maybe Ellie goes back to Tommy's and Dina's there, and they fucking work something out, and maybe there's a huge ass.
For the record, I hate that the Fireflies were introduced that late into the game.
At the very fucking end, the last 30 minutes of the game.
They were?
I'm talking about that the Fireflies are still alive, not that the Fireflies were a thing. They introduced the Fireflies, remember, 200 alive, whatever, at the very end when Abby finds the radio or whatever. And
you know what though? I thought that was a trap. I thought that was people trying to get Abby, Abby's attention because they saw her go into the house.
No, they figured out.
That's what I thought.
She figured out the transmission of the radio, and then they.
But that could very well be little things that they left for anyone to walk into the house.
They could, but
they
it was so.
But that wasn't explained.
They were vague enough to where they were trying to get enough information to find out if she really was a Firefly, and I don't think that crew really gave a shit if they were Fireflies or not to capture them. Plus, they have them trapped in a house; they can grab them whenever they want. But they did the way it was ran. I thought the same thing. I thought maybe it was just a trap, but according to the live streams I've seen with Neil and Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson and stuff, they have mentioned that again, that scene that John's sitting in front of is the actual location where the Fireflies are. I just, for me, it's I just hate that it's introduced at the end because that's the whole plot. It's to get the cure, to find the Fireflies, to do all that. And, you get it at the end, you meet this random new group of people, and They're just slave traders basically, and Ellie comes in and literally wipes out everyone, murders everyone, but can't murder Abby. Like, Abby's the one person she can't kill. Everyone else she can kill, but Abby's the one person she can't kill. And Abby's a war machine. She can kill everyone and everything, but she'll leave Ellie alive twice.
They might have a relationship like Iron Man and fucking Winter Soldier. I know that you killed my parents, but we gotta kind of fight the greater good. So I feel like that again. Maybe that again.
Well, I hope they don't do what they did this time and actually develop that.
Yeah, it's not something we want.
And it's gonna take a lot of work.
But it's not something we want to see. But I feel like that's what they're going towards. There's gonna be some worser evil where
Thanos.
If
this whole game was Thanos. This was Abby was Thanos, Ellie was Tony Stark, and she's like, "You took everything away from me." And she's like, "I don't even know who you are." That was the whole game.
The game was Avengers Infinity War, and we have yet to see.
See, I would have been better off if the game was that, and Abby was the winner, and like the game ends with her winning or something, and then the third game is like the or whatever. I don't know. I just getting off topic, but in the sense of like, okay, playing as Abby. I think we should wrap it up soon because we're going on 2 hours now, but. Playing as Abby, personally, my hopes were to actually start caring for her. And the only person I cared for her entire storyline was her dad. And this is something I brought up to Josh. And I think it's one of the biggest flaws in the storytelling and writing of this game. And it's the way they present Marlene in that talk between between Abby's dad and Marlene, where they're like talking about, that they have to kill her, that she's going to die on the table in order to find the cure. And they make Marlene this like super like empathetic person in the scene. And she's like, we have to tell Joel he traveled the country with her. Like, like he cares about her, whatever. And like all this other stuff. And I hated that because in the first game, Marlene just wakes him up and she's like, yeah, like she just treats him like as if Ellie was just like something to smuggle in as cargo. And she's like, okay, like, it is what it is. And Joel's like, let me see her. And she's like, no. And then she goes to the guard. She's like, get him out of here. If he tries anything, kill him. But then in this game, it's like, no, we got to tell Joel, like he traveled the country with her. He cares about her. Like, y'all don't even give him a minute to like talk to her or say bye or anything. It's like, you're gonna deal with it, get the fuck out, or we'll kill you. And so, like, what do you like? You're giving me two contradictory stories here, because in one side, the way she treats Joel is like a piece of shit smuggler who smuggled in cargo, who doesn't care, and we're gonna kill him on sight if he does anything. And then in this one, they're like, we really want you to care for Abby, so we're gonna make Joel look like a monster because these people cared about this girl that they're about to kill on the table. And it's like, no, you didn't. Like, every single time that, and at least like, you took that choice away from me. They didn't even give you a choice. They put you under and you expected to live. They didn't give you the choice. So Joel gave that choice back to you if you really think about it. Like, I just, for me, like, it's playing as Abby. Like, I was trying to see when they were going to get me to like, and the only one I liked was the Doctor. The Doctor was the only one. And obviously because his character is the same as the first one. He was like, I can't let you take her. Like, this is the cure or whatever. And that's it. Other than that, everyone around her was like cardboard. They were one-dimensional characters. I didn't care about any of them. I didn't. There was nothing about them that was interesting to me. I can't even remember much about them. All I know is about Owen wanting to leave. That's it. Abby's a killing machine. She gets her goal of killing Joel. Apparently, like, that's like nothing to her. She walks away. She tries to help out two kids from a religious cult that has killed, I don't know how many hundreds of her friends and family. because she met them a few hours ago. Like, you know. And another thing is Isaac, the guy from Westworld.
Yeah.
I wanted more of him.
Yeah.
I wanted so much more of him when I saw him torturing the guy in the room. Like, I was just like, oh shit, is this the bad guy? Is this story gonna have Abby and Ellie putting things aside to fight the head of the wolves? You know, and like, and something's gonna happen because this guy is the bad. Is this the Thanos? Like, that's what my mindset was like, because I was like, oh shit, this guy means business, you know. But then it was like,
for 2 seconds.
Okay, he shows up, he gets shot in the back, you know. Why they left her alive on the floor? I don't know.
That might be like the doctor for Last of Us 3. How do we know that Isaac doesn't have like a brother or a fucking big bad sister? Or God knows.
He killed my second removed cousin.
That whole fucking facility, which is a goddamn stadium, right, of people.
Yo, I saw one of the reviews. I forgot whose review it was, but they were just like, imagine if after Luke destroys the Death Star, one of the family members of one of the workers on the Death Star starts hunting Luke down and kills everyone Luke loves. And then Luke has a chance to kill that guy, but doesn't. It's like nothing. If you put it that way, like none of it makes sense.
That's like if you have all of Star Wars and Darth Vader has the opportunity to kill Obi-Wan, and he's just like, nah, man, you know.
And you know what I just thought about too? The comparison, like it's literally the same shit on both sides, whatever day. Like that whole sniping scene. Yeah. What happens when Tommy comes out of nowhere?
What do you mean?
He shoots that guy in the face.
Oh, Manny?
Right.
Same way that she kills Tommy.
Shoots him right in the face. Same shit. Same fucking shit. Yeah. You know, this game, all in all, was a fucking fantastic game, but holy shit. Like, come to think about it, it's the same shit.
Yeah, on both sides.
Over and over.
That's where the game kind of like started dying for me, because as soon as I started back, because again, this is another thing I brought up when I first beat it, was that I think the Abby storyline would have been way more effective if it was a 3 to 4 hour playable thing.
Huh.
And in the beginning,
I think it would have been even better. Okay, here's my thought process on how I think it should have gone. If we're gonna keep the same things going, I think the same way in not the Last Jedi, in the Force Awakens, when Kylo removes his helmet in front to Rey in the beginning, that was the worst possible time for him to do that, because it humanized him, and it went from this like extremely scary villain, whatever, to this kid. And that scene needed to happen first and only when Han Solo screams his name on the platform, and then he takes it off and you realize he's a kid. Yep. And in this game, I think it's the same thing with Abby. I think because they introduced her so soon, if they like, first of all, why are they wearing WLF gear like out there anyways to get caught?
We don't even know why they're there in the first place.
Joel.
Like, there's not much is explained. Yeah, but not really. Because how do they know he was there?
They knew they were
looking for it. Because remember, when Owen shows her the area, she's like, "Oh my God, we were that close." And he's like, "Yeah, it's right down there, whatever." And then, that's the whole reason. That's why when they hear Joel.
But how did they know that he was there? We don't get.
No, now we don't know.
Like, you know how I was saying before that Ellie has to find every single clue to find every person in order to get to Abby. Like, you don't get that with Abby. Like, they're just there.
The only reason she knows is because of Tommy.
Once they're there,
because remember, Tommy was also a Firefly, so they I'm assuming, again, this isn't told in the game, But I'm assuming that because she knew that Tommy was a Firefly and Tommy was his brother, that if they track down Tommy, they find Joel. And then when it was like, hi, I'm Tommy and this is Joel, then immediately it was like, okay. But that...
that's like so
I know
thin,
it's thin,
though.
but I'm saying that's what they did. They kept referencing to him being a Firefly and her being a Firefly. Their entire squad being a Firefly. And I think...
What if that's...
Yeah, but hey, we don't even know how long... If we go back to the first game, like, Tommy has already been with Maria for a while. Like, he hasn't been a Firefly for a while. So how does Abby know about Tommy? And how are they in the same group? Like, the Fireflies or a lot of people?
Well, I mean, it could be a number of things.
There's like so much
I know,
on these
but
lanes.
I don't like, personally, I don't think I need all that explained. I just need a better way of them meeting. Like, her finding Joel is fine because they're Fireflies. Maybe they had documents somewhere. I mean, whatever. Like, that's fine. But my thing is the way that her and Joel run into each other and the way that's executed and his death is executed, that's what needs exploration. That's what needs, like, how. But
that's like a fucking snake, and then all of a sudden a mouse just pops right in front of him. Like, oh shit, okay, I guess I'll eat it.
But what I was saying before
like,
is that the way I think they should have done it was, if the WLF are these mercenaries, they should have been smart enough to not go looking for someone and wearing their gear of WLF where they can get tracked back.
Their uniform.
Yeah, exactly. Tracked back to the WLF. First of all, they're working outside of the WLF orders anyways. They shouldn't be doing that. If the WLF, if Isaac finds out, they're fucked. So they shouldn't be wearing anything that remotely says WLF that will bite them back. So if they were like a group of people that we didn't know, and you had this girl or person that you can't see because they either cut off her face or they have a mask or whatever, and she kills Joel, and then Ellie's like motivation is to find out who the fuck this is, and then you're going through it, and then you like it goes to where she's like, you know, she's at the theater. That's the first time you actually see her. And then right there, you go into the flashback of her being a kid, and then her killing, you know, her seeing her dad dead or whatever. Then, I think personally, that would have been a much better way of doing it, because I wouldn't have started off playing her with absolute hatred. I would have had time to compress the same way Ellie would have time to compress. I mean, it's a long journey to Seattle, Washington, you know, from where they're at.
It is.
The same way it would take.
And she was there.
Yeah,
for 3
you know, when you
days.
get mad and you're just like, you're mad, and then, you know, after like an hour or so, you kind of calm down. Like, same shit. Like, give me time to like be pissed, feel Ellie's rage, go through that journey of like having to find who the fuck this is. And by that time, I'm like more calmed down. Now you introduce the bad guy, which is Abby. You realize she's a girl. This big buff person was a girl. And you're like, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden it goes back in time and you see her and her dad, Xavier and Zebra, and then you see like a flashback of her dad, you know, on the floor dead, and then you're like, oh shit. Like, this is who it but because, like you said, right at the beginning, they show the doctor, they show him dead, and then you play as her.
Yeah, they like spoil the game for you.
You're automatically like, oh, I got it. Yeah, that's the daughter of the doctor. Okay.
Yeah. And like nothing is effective after that point.
And I think if they would have done it in that order, they still would have done the Seattle Day 1, 2, 3.
It's almost the same order. It's just you're basically all you're saying is cover her face.
Mm-hmm.
It's the villain reveal thing, and it would have been so much more effective.
Oh my God, can you imagine? Where you like you finally find this person, and then you're like, oh shit, it's a girl, and she's just like,
and then the game switches up on you, and you're like, oh.
And you're just like, what the fuck? And then it's the same shit.
But that, you would have still had all the boring characters.
Yeah,
so
I mean, yeah, the characters would have been so much better.
I would have still not liked that.
I think
But at least the story would have worked better.
If they would have, like, even then, like, they were trying to do The Walking Dead. They were introducing a shit ton of characters and trying to introduce them and give them backstories and do all that stuff. And yeah, it's a video game. You got time, but they didn't utilize that time. So if instead of like all those like surrounding characters, if you would have just focused on like on the main ones, like let's just say Owen, Mel. Let's just say Owen and Mel. And you would have developed them, I would like, as far as the friends group, or even like Manny and Owen. Let's take it a moment. We still got 3 viewers. Wow, thanks guys. I don't know who it is, but I appreciate you.
Well, one of them is my family in the living room.
You're still there? Jesus Christ. Yeah, Nikki commented at one point, he's like, you spoiled it for me. It's a spoiler talk, bro.
And he put it on his Instagram, and he was promoting us that it's a podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
definitely spoiled.
Could be.
Future.
But yeah, so where were you?
What I was saying, I was basically saying that they could have combined Manny and Owen, because Manny is down to fuck and Owen sleeps around apparently, so they're already similar there. And then you can also like contrast that with Manny's like he's always down to fuck shit up with Abby. So if you combine those two things with Owen,
I agree. I think honestly they should have just cut the whole stupid pregnant Mel thing from the get-go. The whole love triangle between her, Owen, and Mel, like whatever.
And I don't even care about Dina being pregnant. Like they could have cut both pregnancies out.
I don't know.
Because the thing is that the reason they did that though is because they wanted to be depressing and brutal. But the problem with depressing and brutal is that it doesn't work if you have bad characters. You know what I mean? Like I have to care about something for that crushing weight to like.
It's the same thing of watching the Joker, and it's like if you just start the Joker at him killing people, and it's like, oh my God, we're moody and we're dark and we're brutal and we're like deep, and it's like, oh no, you need the first half. You need to see that he's a guy, and you need to see that he's being abused and that he's being beat up and the society hates him and where he lives, and you need that slow portion of the movie. You need that build up to where it's like, oh, I understand what he's doing. You don't get that here. You barely get that with Abby. You barely get it. All you understand is, okay,
exactly.
Joel killed her dad. That's it. You don't see anything else in her life that's that bad. You don't see anything bad, like really bad, happen to her until later on, where Ellie starts killing all of her people, which is the same thing I would do. I don't understand. And then the people that she did that, and this is the other thing. There was a stream I saw that like was like, oh yeah, Joel's like no saint, this and that, whatever. No, Joel's not a saint, but nobody's a fucking saint in The Last of Us. Everyone there is to endure and survive. Everyone there is killing to survive. Everyone in The Last of Us, in The Last of Us Part 1, every single person that Joel kills throughout the entire game were out to try to kill him. Every single one. When they first meet, I forgot his name, but the guy that was smuggling the guns that sold it to the Fireflies, that guy, his entire crew was trying to kill them, and then then he gets with the Fireflies, they get with Ellie, and then throughout the entire game, every single person is out to kill Joel. So no, he's not a bad fucking person throughout the whole game. And then at the very end, he's told, hey, that girl that you you ended up loving because you saved her life a billion times and you've been with her this whole time, we're gonna kill her, and by the way, you have no choice in it. You can't talk to her, you can't see her, and if you try anything, we're gonna fucking kill you. I think anyone in this world would be like, no, I don't think so. It's not gonna work that way. So they made him look like the fucking bad guy, and then they make Ellie look like the bad guy. Like, oh my gosh, she killed the dog, she killed the pregnant girl, she killed all those people came to kill Joel. She has no idea if those people are going to come and kill people at Jackson. She doesn't know what their motivations are, who they are, what they are, anything. And she goes after them. Yeah. And then they all try to kill her. Like, the dog tries to kill her. That skinny friend, I forgot his name, Daniel, whatever, tries to kill her and Dina. Then she goes and when she meets with Owen and Mel, she's just trying to find out where Abby is. They don't want to tell her, so they go and attack her, and then she ends up killing them. Like, I don't understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to make Ellie look like the bad guy by surviving. She's not murdering anyone on purpose. She's murdering them. Like, even the girl that's like, oh, do you hear him scream? I hear it every night, and that little bitch deserved it. She was literally asking to die. Like, she didn't want to give anybody up. She didn't want to give Abby up or anything. So like, and Ellie's put in a position where she's going to be surrounded by everyone anyways and die. So her only choice is to find out where this girl is to move on, or go back and get surrounded, or leave her alone and get surrounded. Like, I don't like, it doesn't make sense.
See, there's everything you just said is 100% fact, but I think what they failed, their intention was, they've said it a million times, they're like, there's no bad guy in this game, right? But they failed because of everything you just said. Yeah. You get me? So of course we're gonna still be on Ellie's side, and we're not gonna care about Abby. Like, it's just not, you're not doing it right.
The only time I ever felt like Ellie was a bad guy was when she was about to kill Abby at the very end.
Yeah, but if this game if we would have had no memory of Last of Us 1, and this wasn't a Last of Us Part 2, and it was just like, a game on its own where if we had no backstory of Last of Us 1, we wouldn't feel them being, either Abby being bad or Ellie being bad, because we Last of Us 1 gave us that connection to these guys, to Joel, to Ellie, right? So imagine not playing Last of Us 1 or Last of Us, the first one not being what it was at all in any way, shape, or form. This game would have been, all right, this girl killed her dad. Now she kills her people.
I still would have been going for Ellie, because right at the beginning they have Abby kill Joel. So like, even if I didn't know who Joel was, or I didn't know who Ellie was, I would have just been like, who the fuck is this bitch beating up this guy? This girl's like, I would think it's her dad.
The guy that just saved him. The guy that just saved her. Sorry.
Yeah, especially with all the flashbacks, which were amazing. Like that whole astronaut in the spaceship thing was
I
fucking
cried,
amazing,
bro.
That was The Last of Us 1.
That was The Last of Us 1.
But the scene in the whole game that fucked me up as much as the death scene was the scene where they talk to each other on the porch, and then Ellie's he tells her, like, look, like, if it happened again, if I was to turn back time, I would do it all over again. And then she's like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna, I'll try to forgive you. And then that was their last conversation, was like, fuck. And then Joel tearing up and crying
killed me, bro.
That broke me to my core, because in a way, having a kid and I can't connect to Joel in a way, but I could. So I could totally understand, like, damn, like, I've disappointed, my child, for me to now, after all of this bullshit, after all this craziness that we live in, just for you to say, okay, I'm gonna try my best, because that's all I wanted.
That's literally all he wants.
Like, that's all he wanted, and then he got it. But he, it wasn't fulfilled. But his last knowing, imagine, in his head was like, okay, Ellie, but everything we've been through, now she's gonna forgive me what I did. Like, now I could finally live. Like, I could live with the fact of what I did, and it being backed up as a positive instead of a negative.
I think it would have been a much more how do I say this? I think it would have been a much more impactful narrative if the game was about her hatred towards Joel and her path to forgiveness towards Joel. And
absolutely.
I honestly, when I first saw the okay, so now that we're here, I really hate the way the marketing was done for this game, because it was completely false advertising. I completely understand the Marvel mindset of giving you fake scenes so that when you play the actual game, none of that actually happens, so that it's like brand new. And there was so many ways they could have done that without spoiling anything. And
kill Dina. They should have just killed Dina, and it should have been the same.
No, I think that would be too, like, personally, I think the idea of, like, the revenge narrative is, like, I think that's where it's too black and white. I think if if they would have started off with like the journey of her finding out the truth, and then her finding out the truth, and then the hatred between her for Joel, becoming from the father figure to the man who took everything from her, who took her identity, her meaning, her life meaning, and everything. And that broken relationship, and the story between the two of Joel trying to regain her trust and her love, and Ellie trying to, like just wanting to hate Joel and like trying to push forward to, maybe find the Fireflies again or whatever her like journey is, and Joel's like trying to get her. Like, if they would have done something to play around with that to like the ultimate ending of like her forgiving him, and maybe him sacrificing himself for her, and then so that she can go on and fire the Fireflies, so that she can do the greater good, like something like that would have been way more in tune to what the first game was trying to do. And
exactly, and it would have been an actual part too,
and it would have been like, oh shit, but because of the path they took, they wanted to do that, be story, whatever. And I just think like, originally I thought, the problem I have with the marketing is that you're showing Joel in all these different times where he looks older and he's in all these different scenes, and it's like Joel's a pivotal part of this story, which Troy Baker said, and you play it and it's like, no, he's not. Like, he's the motivation, but that's it. Yeah,
he was fuck. What was the scene that I told you about? Oh, fuck! What was the scene? That it was something in the lines of yes, because of Joel, this was happening. But I think it was the guitar. That the guitar is a representation of Joel and their connection. Because of the whole teaching her how to play guitar, and then now that she lost her fingers, she can't play the guitar, so it's kind of like she's lost a part of her.
I think that moment was just a symbolization of like her finally letting like her connection to Joel kind of go.
Nice background.
I took it in the. I'm trying to do it. Can you see it? Yeah. Oh, because I can't see it on my side.
Yeah.
There we go. I took a screenshot of Joel's grave. I don't know if you can see it clear there, but yeah.
It keeps thinking your living room is part of the picture. So like the wheel comes there now. Now it is good, but the wheel, because of your head, it would keep like coming in.
But
yeah. I think symbolism was shown a lot in the game, and I agree with the trailers being very
misleading
false.
As hell, dude. But like, it was misleading to a point where it was false advertising. Like, for me, it was false. I'm paying for a game. I'm paying the full price of the game to play as Ellie and Joel and to live out the continuation of the story before. And what you gave me was half Ellie, half a new character I don't give a fuck about. You have that character.
Which that's another lie.
Yeah.
Because they said it was going to be only Ellie. Wrong.
Yeah, like, it would have been so much cooler. Like, if there, maybe not Dina's death, or maybe Dina's death and maybe some more or something, but it would have been so fulfilling after these many years to find it, like, to play with Joel and Ellie again.
By the way.
Right.
He's about to push her off.
What?
It's the scene of the Oh, I don't know if you see it yet. It's the scene of the
no. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Of the flashback.
It's hard to see because of your background thing.
There.
You gotta take the picture off.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, it would have been so fulfilling to play as Joel and Ellie again, like in a dynamic.
That's
where,
what we waited 7 years to do, man. We waited 7 years to play as Joel and Ellie and to like flush out their story and to see what's going on, and all they did was flush out the story of a girl who didn't matter, man. Like,
yeah, like, or fulfilling that void, and then that's how Joel dies. Joel died in a way that was, again, like fucking Tony Montana Scarface style, like fucking guns blazing, and you, Ellie, like, maybe you ran out of bullets,
Like
or
how
something
Triss
happens where
sacrifices herself for Joel.
yeah, like something of that nature. And then like the night before is that conversation, and we would have seen that hey, I forgive you, I'm gonna try my best to forgive you. And then Joel's like, okay, that's great, starts crying. And then it's like, hey, tomorrow I'm going on this thing, I want you to come with me. And then maybe she'll be like, yeah, let's go. Then the next morning they do that shit, and then that's when the instance where he dies, but in an awesome way, where it's very poetic. And it's like, okay, Joel died by the hands of Abby, and Ellie sees her, and Abby sees Ellie killing her, and then, I'm sorry, Ellie sees Abby killing him, you know and then that's what starts the crazy, not like Joel getting jumped, Abby being helpless.
Joel getting
I'm
jumped
sorry,
by
Ellie
the
being,
sole people who were looking for him, not all the people in Jackson. Like,
yeah. So, I mean, again, I've said it a few times. I just feel like it's very much a stepping stone to something, because they can't do that. Naughty Dog wouldn't just fucking leave us like that, Like, look at Uncharted. We got 4 fucking great Uncharted games. Why can't they do the same with Last of Us?
It's kind of different though, because in Uncharted, like the first 3 games was a different creative director, and then Uncharted 4 is when Neil Druckmann came in. So
Great.
great. He kind of like he did Uncharted 4 and that was strong, but he didn't do 4 Uncharted games in a row. You get me?
Yeah. But
I think
the biggest problem with this game is that like he got this idea while he was doing Left Behind, and both him and Troy have mentioned this, where he had this idea, and then apparently 6 years later, the game came out and was barely different than the original pitch. So you mean to tell me 6 years and the game didn't change barely at all? Like, how is that possible? How did you not think of every single possibility of every character and what they would do? Like, you're supposed to go through everything in that time. That's why God of War changed a million times. The first Last of Us changed a million times. Like, it was a totally different story when you hear Neil talk about it. Yeah. Like, the original idea of The Last of Us was so different. But for some reason, he was like, no, this is it. This is it, and nothing's going to change about it.
I think it's because it's
he like convinced himself.
I think it's not only just him. I think it's because of the success of the first game that everyone was like, whatever idea you have, let's do it. And then when they heard the idea, the idea sounds good on paper. It does. I think it sounds like a compelling story on paper, but in the execution of it, I think it was. I think at the same time, I think it's like PlayStation was like, everyone around him was just like, whatever you got to do to make the success that we did in the first game, do it again. And when he's like, this is the idea, this is what I think, like, I wouldn't want to make it unless it was the way I wanted to, and I think this is it. They were like, yeah, let's do it. Like, so there was no pushback. There wasn't like, well, hold on, let's really think about this. It was very much like, no, The Last of Us was so successful that whatever you got to do do it again, like, do it again. And
that's where it fails, because they didn't take the story to the lengths that it could have gone.
I think the game could have. I think, again, the game is The Last Jedi for me. It's very much a risk taker. And the thing about the game that's beautiful is that even though there's a lot of things I don't like and I disagree with, we've been sitting here for almost 2.5 hours now talking about this game. And while we all agree that there are things we don't like, and we all agree that, we don't technically agree with a lot of the decisions, it's still a great game. And the story...
It is.
If you guys seen the video, by the way, anybody who's... I don't know if you're still watching this, but if you still are, there's 4 concurrent viewers. I'm going to put a link in the description below on a video from a YouTuber. I can't remember his name, but I'll put it in there. And I sent it to you guys. and it was like a supercut of the first game and the second game.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
video did a better job at telling this story than the entire game did.
Right.
It was way more.
It did.
Yeah, it was just way better done. You know, yeah, there are things missing from it, but it's just the way it's told. It feels like a movie. As a matter of fact, that's the video I used. My mom has been watching my dad play The Last of Us, and when I went yesterday, she was like, "Oh yeah, that he was like walking around this flower shop and he was sneaking around these people, and then he had to like kill this dog and do this and whatever."
I could hear your
Yeah,
mom.
¿sabes? Y después salió de ese lugar y esto es malo, you know, like the way she is, and she,
I can see your dad being all jumpy.
yeah,
and shit,
my
and,
dad
like,
freaking, you know, like going crazy on it. But like my mom was even like interested. She was like, "And what happens? Like, what happens with the girl? Like, who is this girl that kills
You
her?"
have-
And I showed her
like-
that video, and she was just like blown away. She was like, "Holy shit!" I'm like, I know, like again, in concept of in concept of story and the way it's done in that video really does show how good this game story could have been if it was tightened up.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was those 15 hours of playing as Abby. It was all those characters in Abby's story that were plain. It was the lack of those flashbacks were beautiful. Those moments with Ellie and Joel were what we wanted.
They were the best
They were
parts.
the best parts of the game. They were the best parts of
Like
the game.
easily.
But we didn't get a lot of
Yeah.
it. You know, we only got what they could give
No.
us, and that's where the game kind of falls flat. The game, I'm replaying it now, and I'm like enjoying everything, but I'm dreading when I have to play as Abby again. Like, I'm
Yeah.
dreading that part, and
The only thing that, like, it's gonna suck at first, but at least I know that there's gonna be the skyscraper, and then the hotel, and then the war. So, like, as soon as I get to the skyscraper, I'll be okay again.
yeah.
Because it's, like, super fun.
But
Yeah.
other than that, like,
Yeah.
But getting to that is, like, oh my god.
oh man,
It's fucking, it is what it is. I think I'm gonna wait a little bit more to play it again. Only I don't know. I don't know. I just, those Abby scenes fuck me up, like how you say. But again, I think the best parts of the game are anything to do with Joel and not his death. The flashbacks.
I hate that we only
the
played as
begin-
Joel for like 5 minutes.
If that.
It's literally
Yeah.
like 5 minutes.
Less than that.
It's less.
If that. I don't even remember playing as Joel.
Literally just the beginning.
It's just the
when you're
beginning.
riding into Jackson.
Just the beginning, when you're on the horse.
Yeah, that's fucking nothing. And you know, again, it's the flashbacks with Joel, the whole rocket scene, that whole scene where you see Joel just again. So maybe that's why he let his guard down. Like Ellie just forgave him, and he just was fucking in the place where he just fucking wasn't thinking about it, and he was fucking caught off guard. But I think the best parts of the game are with excluding his death and excluding the fucking small world moment where he just walks into the fucking bear trap, but the flashbacks and
But
all that.
those are like true character moments. That's why they're the best parts.
Yeah,
And that's
everything else is
that's
just
the
plot.
only moments that Ellie's Ellie. Like,
yeah.
only moments that the rest of the game, I didn't feel like that was Ellie. Like, I get her position, but like, she was
No, like,
through
we
thick and
see-
thin, bro. Like, even in those like I'm watching the flashback right now. She's walking around the dinosaur museum. She's looking at the Metrodon, and like even then, like that's after the first game. This is after she was almost raped. This is after Sam and Henry, where Sam like turns it into the infected, and Henry has to kill him and then kills himself. This is after David. This is after Bill, and this is after the Fireflies. This is after everything, and she still has this like lovable like hope on life, and
Yeah.
and
Right.
then like
And
because she finds out that Joel took her off of the thing, she began to be a completely hateful character, a character that like she doesn't really care for anyone, she doesn't really talk to anyone, she says one or two words, like it's just
because her love and trust for Joel was in her mind, in her eyes, was completely backstabbed.
Yeah, but like
And
she
that's
placed
why,
that backstab on everyone. And so the problem
yeah,
is that again, if they would have focused on that, maybe if like, okay, yeah, she found that out, and then now she's got to keep her infection a secret. So that's why she, like, you see her do the chemical burn or whatever, and the struggle of like not revealing that she's immune. You know, like little things like that would have pushed that plot storyline forward. Imagine the story not about Abby. Imagine the story about her hating Joel for taking the choice away from her, quote unquote, and she goes on a patrol with Dina, or she goes on patrol with Jesse, and she gets bit, or you know whatever, her bite mark gets revealed, and then she's got to like hide it or whatever, and then the plot thickens because then the other characters realize that she's immune, and then she's not supposed to know, like nobody else is supposed to know because Joel told her nobody was supposed to know, and then she realizes that, oh shit, nobody else is immune, just me, and then that pushes her to hate Joel more because he lied to her, and now people are realizing that she's immune and turning on her or whatever. Like they didn't do anything with it. Her tattoo literally meant nothing. Nothing.
yeah,
Right.
Like she didn't, like if she got the tattoo after Joel's death to remember Joel because of the guitar, cool. But no, like it, her tattoo
No,
was like the
not
biggest
even.
thing. It's all over the PlayStation. It's all over. It's on my Last of Us
Yeah.
controller, and didn't mean anything. I thought from the trailers when she's shaking her hand and shit, I thought that was the infection starting to fuck with her, and she was like
would've been
trying to get to the Fireflies or get to whoever to get the cure out before she turns or something, and that's why she got
Right.
the tattoo to hide the scar so that people don't know she's
spreading
immune. Like
infection.
those things would have created a much better like storyline for me than like this random Abby character who happens to be the daughter of one person we killed out of the thousands in the first game. You know,
Yep.
but I think guys, we've been at this for 2 hours, 27 minutes and 16 seconds. Is there
Seconds.
Is there anything you guys want to touch upon? Any points you want to bring up? Any questions you want to ask before we end this stream podcast? This streaming spoiler talk.
I have one.
Go for it.
What? Well, I had two, but I think one is better than the other. What do you think the future of Last of Us looks like? Do you think there will be more? Do you think? What do you think?
I think there definitely could be more, but I don't want any more.
Why? Because of the story?
I. It's just like when the integrity of something is compromised, like I'm very quick to just shut it off. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I just don't care. Like I love the world. Like if they gave me like a Fallout open world in the Last of Us universe with like it's Fallout 76 with no NPCs, then maybe I'll care. Because like that's basically what they just gave us.
And what was your overall rating of Last of Us? 1 out of 10.
I honestly like even after all the shit I talk, it's still a great game, I think. But because it's narrative driven, like you like the story gets more weight in this game than other games because that's their focus. You know what I mean? Like it's half story, half gameplay. There's no other. It's not like Doom where it's like 95% game. No, sorry, 99% gameplay, 1% lore. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not like that. So
Right.
because of that, I would say like it's like a 7 for me.
7. Jeez.
Yeah, but
What
I'm just disappointed though. You know?
Yeah.
What about you, Vincent?
I think I want more because there needs to be more to make this story matter. Like for me, it's like the only reason this story would matter if there was a part 3, because if not, again, it's the Last Jedi. it feels empty. It feels like it needs something to complete it. It feels like the story is open to complete. And maybe if we have a part 3 that ties everything together, it might make the game better. It might make the story better. It will not fix the bland characters and the lengthy, gameplay of Abby and all that stuff. Exactly. But if they were able to make a third game that connected everything, allowed me to really like, it allowed the story to really come into a more cohesive ending to where it makes sense, then I can be okay with that. I just want to make sure that if they do make a third game, it was always intended. I hope that Neil Druckmann, I respect him. I think he's great. I love his idea. I love and I don't want this to be. I want more video games to take these risks. I want them to be mindful of the risk, but I want them to take these risks because the same way Cory Barlog made the risk of making God of War the way he did versus, the other 3 that were completely different, over the top camera and violent galore, and then you have the more loving fatherhood story. The same way he did those risks, I like that they took this risk. I just hope that, in their mindset, I hope that if Neil was like, yeah, we're going to make a part 2 because it's going to be a 3-part series and part 2 is going to tie everything in, I'm okay with that. Where I see it going, I have no fucking clue. I don't know if I personally think Abby and Ellie at some point are going to like pair up together to find the Fireflies or whatever. That's do I want that to happen? No, I don't really like Abby, but I can see them doing that. And as far as a rating, like, for now, until a third one is released and until the story for me is completed for real, it sits also at like a 7 out of 10. But as a video game itself, it's definitely like a 9 out of 10. Like as a mechanically, graphically, like story, looking, acting, motion capture, all that shit, it's definitely like a 9 out of 10. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I loved everything about it. If it was a standalone game, it would actually be pretty freaking... I think it would be much better than what it is right now, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think asking myself the same question, which I've said multiple times through this stream, is I do feel like there's a third. And there needs to be, how you said, this game needs to have been made. The third one needs to, for this game to matter. Like for all this shit that we've been through, or Ellie's been through, or the death of Joel, and all the emotion between the flashbacks and seeing Joel cry and like the last conversation and all that good stuff. It needs to all matter. Like there has to be something that occurs. Like within the Fireflies, or Abby and Tommy and Jackson, Dina, wherever the fuck, something needs to happen in which, all right, we either need to put our differences aside and fight the fucking worst or evil or whatever the fuck the case is. I don't like Abby either, but it kind of seems like that's what they're going towards. No. So I'm gonna agree with both of y'all ratings and say 7 out of 10 is like an overall, but story dynamically, the way it looks, it definitely gets a 9 out of 10 because it's. I mean, we can't take away from the scavenging and that scene alone fucking made the game so.
It's the best part of the game.
I want to say, I wouldn't say relatable, but I mean. It's.
You feel it, man.
You feel it. You definitely know, like, damn, like these people, went through a lot, and then, it can't be just left hanging. Like,
I just feel if there's not a third game, then Joel's entire journey was fucking useless, and that's where it's like, okay, if you can make a third game. And you can tie Abby's journey, Ellie's journey, and Joel's journey and tie it all up. Even if you have to do 4 games, even if you have to do 2 more. Like, whatever you got to do to make it happen. If that was the original plan, again, not going with the whim, not like, oh yeah, no, we always want to do 2 parts. This was the story we want to tell, and that's it. If that's the case, then stop. Like, just don't do it.
Yeah, but
You know,
they have to. There has
they wouldn't
to be
have.
a third
They
one.
wouldn't
Like,
have
just
introduced. Like, that's the reason I was saying earlier that yeah, I thought it was a trap too, but it doesn't make sense for them to end the game the final few hours and mention the fireflies, how many fireflies they are, where they are, to be a trap. I believe that's that hint of like, this is where the story's going. This is going to be Abby's journey, is getting to these to the fireflies, and
yeah,
that's where it'll go into the third one.
Initially, the first teaser of Last of Us 2, the first thing that ever came out was a firefly sign.
Yeah, which
It was just a firefly
on the
signal.
stop sign.
And then that's it. That's it. Everyone lost their fucking goddamn mind. And then this game, nothing.
No, you just see the firefly sign here and there, and that's it.
That's it. And
More false advertising.
I feel like at that point of Last of Us, which was fucking 4 years ago, they must have had a different story and chose to go with another. I feel like they had probably 2 or 3 different stories in front of them, saw where one of them went, saw where the other one went, saw where the other one went, and they're like, all right, I think in this route would be best, because in this route we could do another game, another 2 games. And with this route, I don't think people are gonna really, And then in this route, I don't, that I feel like that had to have been the decision making, because to be the first thing that we ever saw of Last of Us 2 is a firefly insignia, and then never see it. We saw it a handful of times, if that, a handful of times in Last of Us 2, and then to only be shown, or any hint of any fireflies, is in the last hour by Abby, the supposed antagonist of the game.
No, she's definitely the protagonist of the game.
Yeah, so
At least they tried. Didn't work.
So, like, where the fuck does that leave us, the gamer? Like, now we have to wait God knows what amount of time. Leia, my daughter, might be fucking, who knows.
Probably
in
at
high
the
school
end of the
by time.
PlayStation 5 generation, because that seems to be the pattern every 7 years.
No,
That's their pattern, yeah.
no way. That would be
We're gonna have. I mean, you guys are gonna have The Last of Us in your whole lives, probably.
Yep.
You tell me how
Oh,
it goes.
we will. I mean, I still love the game. Like, I as much as shit as I'm talking, it's the same thing of like, I disagree with the way they went. I disagree with the way they did the story. But again, like, it for me, it feels like I can't judge it 1,000% until I see a third one, and like, that's just how I see it. You know
It's
what I'm
like
saying?
it's like going to a restaurant and like craving a fucking burger, and you've been craving a burger and a burger. You order a burger, like it was a good burger, but it wasn't like the best burger, So like you kind of want to go somewhere else and have a better burger, but it's like
It's more like walking in and having the most beautiful atmosphere with the most delicious appetizer in the world, and you were like, "Holy shit, that was orgasmic!" And then you order the entree, and the entree was like, it wasn't bad, but it was nowhere near the expectations you had. And now you're waiting to see if the dessert is gonna fix all that or not. Like, it's.
Yeah, and kind of hoping that next time you go to this restaurant, if it's going to be better.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I want to see what they do, and again, like, for me personally, I want to give it. As where it stands now, I don't hate it as much as like I hate The Last Jedi, for example, like, because because a lot of the themes are still there, and the worst part is that this is one of those things where it upsets me only because I understand everything they tried to do. I just think, and I understand every theme they were trying to say, and I understand everything they were trying to make you do, and I get it. It's just the way it was done. Just I don't agree with. It doesn't mean it's bad, but that's why I'm excited to see what they could do for the third one to like make everything like one cohesive. Because like I said, when we watched that video for me, like I'm just like, okay, like I love that. Like I love the way that video portrays the story this game's trying to tell, and it goes to this point where if they made a third game which connects it all that, and you take that video and take that game and put it all together, it looks like one cohesive, beautiful, crazy movie. And like, we'll see. But Josh, any questions? Last feedback? Anything you want to bring up before we end this?
I guess I'll say my last pro and my last con.
Let's do it.
But I'm gonna end it with my last pro, so it's positive.
Got it. So we're gonna start off with your con.
My last con is I think there were way too few new infected types, because there was only stalkers, shamblers, and an unnamed boss. And shamblers were basically just bloaters that didn't throw shit at you.
They were so weak, bro.
So I don't.
They sucked.
Yeah. So I thought they could have done more with infected types. And I guess my last pro.
I think just to touch on that real quick, I think for what John was saying earlier would have been a really cool infective type. If there was military soldier infected that had armor, and so you had to do headshots, or you couldn't shiv or whatever. They don't even necessarily have to make new like infected. If they just would have made the infected maybe a little bit different, you know, with different armor pieces or different things, or maybe the fungus grew in different ways that caused it to, you know, whatever it may be. I think that would have been an extra layer. Because honestly, like I got to a point where the infected kind of got like a little dragged out for me. I was like, okay, I'm annoyed. I kind of want to get back to people now. I want to get back to the Seraphites. Like that was at some point that's how I felt. And the clickers were a little too easy. The first game they were a lot scarier.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the reason for that is because in this game, since you're Ellie for a while, she doesn't have to worry about shit breaking. So clickers are more of a threat in the first game because Joel doesn't have that switchblade.
Yep.
You get me? And then by the time you're Abby, she's just you just choke them out. You know what I mean?
And did you guys watch the state of play where they started announcing the infected, where they're like, oh, we have the stalkers, we have this, and many more that you have to wait.
Just one more.
Yeah, I thought there was so much more.
And literally one of those.
Yeah.
Again, the stalkers, like they were scary for like 2 parts. I was really hoping there was just gonna be like a section of just like freaking jump scare like stalkers,
40 of them,
fucking, you know, like walking into a fucking, you know, children preschool, and there's just like running around like in the hallways and shit, and the listening mode doesn't work and whatever, you know, like. But they only had like, the only time I ever got really scared of the stalker was the first time I saw it, where it just was looking at me through the doorway. And I think if they would have had more moments of that with the infected, oh man, it's so much better.
Yeah. My last pro, which I didn't really talk about earlier, and I should have, was I really appreciated like the level design of the entire fucking game, because you know how in the first game, like as soon as you drop down from somewhere, that's like the next level, because you can't go back up. You know what I mean? So like in your mind, it's very obvious that like this is the new part. But in this game, you don't know. Like it's very like hidden. So it feels you're like super immersed into the world, because you never know when it starts and when it stops. You know what I mean? And they like chain them up so beautifully, and like half the times, I guess the loading screens are like when you're like doing walking between areas, because it used to be loading screens were in like squeeze throughs and elevators, but there's none of those. The squeeze throughs are part of the regular game now. So like I honestly couldn't tell. Like I mean, a couple times I could, because there were a couple drops and other things, but I felt like it was the world itself was extremely immersive.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like it felt so good.
I agree. Although at some points, like although I did feel that, I kind of wish they had a little bit more of the elements of the first game, in the sense of like when you do enter a new area. I wish there was more like. I wish it was more of like a like how do I say this? I guess not an intro into the area, but like okay, like Uncharted 4. Like every time you get to a new area, the area was big, but it was big that you would explore around to achieve going to the next area. Versus this one, and when you get there, it had like a very like the camera would pan back really far, and you would get a big view of everything. In this one, it was very much like you would have those at like Hillcrest, but within that area, there's like 4, and then you're just like you're going through each area, and the only thing that's happening in each one is just either more it's either like one area is enemies, and then the next one's infected, and then the other one's enemies, and then the other one's infected. Like it was very much like. And the other thing that it's a nitpicky thing, but you know the game, since the first one has this cliche, it's built up for itself, where it's like if there's spores, they're infected. If there's no spores, I'm pretty safe. Like I got to that point where I just like I automatically knew if there was infected or not. I could run around and be like, okay. Oh, infected. Okay, cool. Like I kind of wish that was more interwoven into where it's like you don't know, like you don't you don't see the spores, but they're there. Like if you walk into a place, like there should be like someone like whatever, and like I wish it was a little bit more like surprising, I guess, or I guess when something's not repetitive.
Yeah.
But the level design of the sense of like. The verticality,
more creative.
The open.
Oh, verticality was awesome.
Was great. The open areas was great. The exploration I thought was great. Although I wish the crafting was a little. I wish the weapon upgrades. Like I wish the weapons you had were better and stuff. But like everything else was beautiful. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. Do you have any last words of wisdom? Any last tidbits?
Okay, so I'm gonna end. Yeah, I'm gonna end this Last of Us spoiler talk with my personal feelings on the game. I cried more in this game than I have ever cried in any video game ever. This game is still one of the most beautiful and immersive experiences I've ever had. And I love the fact that even though I hate virtually every decision made on the story they wanted to tell, I still love this game in that sense. And I think I love the risk that they take, and I hope that every game looks at this, every company looks at this and decides to take risks and push the boundaries of like what a game can be, because The Last of Us Part 2 really is blurring the lines between film and television and video games. It's this. I think this game is the stepping stone into games getting into like film awards, because the acting was phenomenal, everything was game design, everything else was phenomenal. But the only thing I guess I'll leave it with is I hope that, although I understand that Ellie's journey led her into learning to forgive, and it was ultimately Abby's the journey of having to kill Abby and realizing that that's not going to bring Joel back, and that she has to learn how to forgive, because that's how she lost Joel, and she never got to be able to build that relationship back. I really do hope they bring up a third game to just tie everything together. I hope they don't just leave it at that, because if they do, the game's going to feel super uncompleted. Other than that, I think we're good, unless you guys have something else to say.
Oh, we have the next game.
Ghost of Tsushima, which we will be doing a spoiler talk. If for whatever reason we want to do a second part to The Last of Us Part 2, I know you guys had a lot of notes and we kind of went a little all over the place as things went on, but that's good because we got to like really like.
I think
Yeah.
I think we should have another one of these for Last of Us, but our second walkthrough and what we missed.
That's a good idea.
What we missed on the second run through what we missed, and what we thought of the second run through. Because I'm sure. Are you playing it on a
I'm
harder
playing it on
difficulty?
Survivor Plus.
Survivor. That's what I'm gonna do. Josh, are you playing
Yeah,
it
he's
again?
playing on moderate.
Yeah,
Moderate. Okay.
Moderate Plus. Yeah,
Photo mode.
So then I say we beat this
that's
before
exactly what I wanted to do.
Ghost of Tsushima comes out, and then we have the next two streaming episodes.
I think we should definitely do one on right before Ghost of Tsushima. Talk about our expectations, what we're looking forward to, what we're not looking forward to, what we're gonna do when we play it, and then we should do a spoiler talk after our own personal review about it. We should keep this going.
That's fine. It comes out on the 17th, right? Or the 15th.
Either way, I pre-ordered and I'm gonna download it
17th.
soon. So
Yeah, I took that day off of
so
work.
we got 15 days for that.
Okay, perfect.
Oh.
Should be good to go. Thank you so much for everyone who's watched this. We have 4 current viewers, so thank you so much. And
they stuck
I
with us.
appreciate. I really would like to do this more often. I think this was awesome. Now that we figured out the technical difficulties of this
Super
freaking
fun.
thing,
Super fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
man.
agree.
Yeah.
100, 1000%.
that was
Super fun.
perfect. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in and for doing this. I know this was basically a last second idea I came up with a few days ago, but I'm glad we were able to get it done. And yeah, that's pretty much it for The Last of Us Part 2 spoiler talk. Thank you so much for watching. Tune in next time. Hopefully we'll be back for Ghost of Tsushima's expectations video, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and peace out. And stream. The stream has ended.